Greetings and salutations, everybody. I am Couch23, joined today by Natara. I am going to be speedrunning Final Fantasy IV, aka Final Fantasy II US for you. I will be doing the No 64 category, which does not allow the use of the 64 floor glitch. Not really too much we're going to go into about that, but yeah, I'm about ready to go. Thank you so much, and I'm gonna get going. If you want to count me in, Natara?
I absolutely can do that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, here we go. So
now for those... go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say.
So basically, I was just going to go over the 64 floor glitch pertains to... So the way this game works with a floor counter is every time you basically proceed through a doorway, it advances your counter by 1. Some rooms, some door transitions remove 1 floor, but usually it's an increase in 1. And what happens is when you hit 64, it actually cycles back to 0. And then if we happen to go through a negative door transition or use warp, which removes 1 from your floor counter, it will actually set your floor counter to a negative number, which can completely break the game. But we will not be using that in this run. We'll be beating all the mandatory bosses.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to see any of those extra moon bosses or super bosses are not going to see those here today, but you are definitely going to see a lot of bosses, some really cool tech, and a really neat leveling sequence near the end of the run in order to make it so Couch can actually make it and defeat the final boss, because unlike with the 64 floor glitch where you really cheese the boss, Couch is going to have to defeat Zeromus correctly, like properly with a party, so he's going to need some levels to do that.
Oh, and we get the Raven skip. Oh, baby.
Run is valid already. So you can't actually control these encounters, they're fairly random, but depending on the frame timing of your screen transitions and mashing, you can actually affect those automatic type fights. So getting it optimally will make it so the Raven doesn't get a turn before Cecil attacks, and you save time. We like to joke that your run is over if you don't get Raven skip.
It's basically like staring contest in FF6.
Exactly.
Really doesn't save too much time, but it saves a little bit of time.
Absolutely. And to answer the question in chat, yes, this will be at least partially step routed, especially at the beginning. Before the run started, Couch set up a specific encounter seed 92, out of the available 256 encounter seeds. This will allow him, so long as he takes 1 extra step within Baigan Castle, to walk all the way to the Mist Cave, fight the Mist Dragon, and actually perform the big glitch around the town of Mist without any encounters other than that boss fight. So it is going to be really good, and that alone saves time. The step routing past that, well, we'll see what we get.
Yeah, I'm not the best when it comes to step routing for this game. Up all the way up to Dwarf Castle, I'm super solid. I can step route anything that the game really throws at me, but after that, I'm kind of still getting used to the maps, so I'll make missteps every so often. So don't expect too much step route wise after Dwarf Castle, but hopefully we'll keep the seed all the way through.
Yeah, let's be clear though, step routing in Final Fantasy IV is very difficult. As I mentioned earlier, there are 256 different encounter seeds, so it's unlike some games where it's always a static encounter seed, so you can just memorize the one route. It's really difficult to do that in Final Fantasy IV. There are some manipulations to try and get a certain seed after the reset we're going to be doing in about 10-ish minutes, but that's not guaranteed. It's really difficult difficult to get, so you tend to not have the different encounter seeds memorized. So it's a lot of work on the fly using charts and graphs just to keep it going. So the longer you can, the better. But all of these are very doable without any sort of step routing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Step routing is never really going to be mandatory for any RPG. I mean, FF5, it's kind of important that you step route to kind of keep encounters on the safer side. But FF4, FF6, step route wise, it's not really mandatory to get a really good time. You can get a really good time without step routing.
Absolutely. And you're going to notice that Couch did take a step off of the stool in Cecil's bedroom there. And that's because within castles, like inside, not on the outside part of castles, the step counter actually still continues to count through, even though it's a no encounter zone. But certain tiles in that area don't count. And things like chairs, cracks in the floor, rugs, things like that don't count towards the step route. So we'll be taking advantage of those in order to clear encounters that we don't want. So by taking that extra step, it just incremented his step counter by just one and skipped the encounter he would have gotten on the first step outside of Baron Castle otherwise.
And just like typical Final Fantasy fashion, we have a break 6 minutes into the run, set down a controller, do whatever, get up, take a break, stretch, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, you have a solid minute and a half to take a break, and you've just started. And it's probably the longest break in this run, which is the worst.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, I would be afraid of the rug or, the cracks in the floor as well. That's why you gotta dodge them. Monsters are smart. So for those of you who are not so familiar with Final Fantasy IV, you get to enjoy this lovely intro, kind of explaining the backstory. One of the first games that really kind of dove into the story a lot deeper than the regular Nintendo ones. Yeah, everyone, get your snacks, get your water, because we're going to settle in. This does have a 3-hour and 25-minute estimate, so hopefully it's going to go super well. We're going to get all of our energies ready for a lot of work, because there is actually going to be a major glitch happening in about 10 minutes. Actually, less than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to take care of a minor cat issue. Had to step away for a second.
I was going to say, I hear your co-commentary there. So everyone say hi to Cheddar, the best kitty, or one of the best kitties.
Yeah, she was very vocal yesterday in my FF6 run.
Aww. So for those of you who were not aware, there is a chocobo forest right out of side of Baron, and not only is riding a chocobo faster, but your step counter doesn't increment whatsoever while you're on the chocobo, so we take a very blatant advantage of that, and arrive in this misty cave where we're just gonna have a lovely stroll in our heavy armor. Nothing better to do on this day, because we're on mail delivery service after daring to speak back to our king about maybe we shouldn't rob people. Maybe, is that a great idea? So Cecil here, who was the captain of the airship armada, the Red Wings, has been demoted.
Hey now, we just treasure hunted them all. That's all. Yeah. That's all we did.
That's it. We treasure hunted them. So now we are ready for the first boss. And this actually, even it's not a difficult fight to finish, it can be a little difficult to get perfectly. So are you trying to get 6 or 7 hits here?
We're gonna do 7, but I also forgot to change my battle speed and battle message too.
Oh yeah, I noticed you didn't do it where I usually do it and then forgot about it. That's unfortunate. So one of the things we do to save time and to set up certain timings is change the battle speed and message speed to 1 from the default of 3. So not having them there is going to slow things down and is actually going to change our timings. What the strat for this fight usually is purposely trying to get 7 hits on Demist, which will lead up to the Mist Dragon form. While in this form, the Demist will counter any attacks. So we can use a sound cue in order to line up our attacks without waiting to be told it's safe. But unfortunately, it doesn't work out so well. So it is a static amount of time, so I think we're gonna guess?
We're taking a stab at it.
Oh, let's see if we get it. In the meantime, though, there is some more stuff we have to do. Well, didn't get it, but it will not counterattack special moves, which jump is one of. And you saw Couch there shuffling around some items in his inventory. That is setting up an item duplication glitch. We get hard on the glitches fast. We may not use the big skip a third of the game glitch in this category, but trust me, there are going to be glitches galore, especially in the beginning chunk of the run. So they are very enjoyable.
Just shows what a difference battle speed can actually make in this game, even if it's just 2 little ticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, gonna do that now. Okay, so there's another glitch that's going to be happening that Couch is setting up for called the Mist Skip. So what he's doing is he purposely twisted in place and or tried to move on the map and interrupted it with the menu while turning and then used a tent. Now by doing that, it tricks the game into thinking that he's actually standing on one square when in fact he's on another. And by buffering another step and saving on the town and resetting, it resets everything, allows you to walk over Mist. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with this game, there is actually a plot trigger when you walk in through the left. We skip that plot trigger for now. However, Couch also completed his item duplication glitch and sold an empty slot for about 6 million gil. So he's got lots of money and used that money in order to buy a stack of 10 dancing daggers. Now these dancing daggers are really going to change a lot of the game from casual, especially at the beginning. Dancing daggers are not meant to be available until you get the airship. And so we have some usually weak characters that we're going to get at the beginning of the game who become very powerful with those dancing daggers, which will be demonstrated shortly. Also, we looted a few items from the back of Rydia's house, which we're going to use to make a few of our characters more survivable and also to save on some shopping. And yes, let's be clear, the Mist Clip is actually one of the most difficult glitches in Final Fantasy IV speedrunning. It's just, if you want to do any sort of speedrunning that has any of the glitches, it's one of the first ones you have to learn. So anyone who's been a long-time runner of this game tends to make it look much easier than it actually is, just from sheer amounts of practice. So, and Couch especially makes it look real easy.
Yeah, with a little bit of practice, it's actually not too hard to do. Once you realize what's going on, everything kind of falls into place.
The timings are pretty static and really easy to get on a consistent basis, but it's getting used to it. It's a different way of thinking and buffering. And speaking of buffering, Couch is taking the time while some mandatory actions are happening to rearrange his inventory. We are going to be getting a lot of items in this run, and we, generally speaking, don't have time to be selling or throwing things out. So inventory management is going to be huge. By the end of the run, you tend to have a pretty full inventory. So yeah, you want to make sure things are exactly where you want them. When you buy things or items get dropped, they go into the correct spot in your inventory for easy access to also speed the run up. Oh yes, it's also difficult if you also play the randomizer for this game because you're in the habit of opening so many chests, and then you come back to the vanilla speedrunning and you're like, no, do not open the chests. Don't open the chests. Okay, so we got no encounters there at the beginning. So after a reset, your encounter seed also resets. So that changes things. That changes what encounter or what encounter seed that couch is on. So we're going to be keeping an eye on the exact locations that he does get encounters so we can find out what his new seed is. By finding out this seed, we'll know where to take extra steps so we can avoid encounters and get the best walk possible.
There's a lot of favorable encounter seeds, and then there's also a lot of really bad encounter seeds.
Real bad. So seed 43 is the best one just in general for speedrunning, whether you're running the any one of the three main categories, being Paladin percent, which is just playing this game up to where Cecil becomes a Paladin, the no CW or no credits warp run, which uses the 64 floor glitch, or this category. So you also will have noticed during this officer fight that Couch was running at certain spots. By running and bringing up the can't run message in those unescapable battles, you can enter a command while that message is up, and it kind of gets pushed to the front of the queue because you're not supposed to have enough time in order to put anything up. And while those messages are up, the ATB, which was completely new in this game, just pauses for everyone, for your party and for the enemies. So while the enemy's ATB is supposed to be moving, it's temporarily paused, and so you can kind of skip ahead. Very useful, and we're going to use it a lot. Now that we have Rydia, you'll notice she has only 30 HP. So very quickly, she was put into the back row and equipped with that tiara, which is a female-only equipable item. So only Rydia, Porum, and Rosa can actually wear it. Really excellent for defense, though, and we're going to need it for the next fight because without that tiara, even being in the back row, Rydia is only going to have that 30 HP. So we need to do everything possible to keep her alive.
Yeah, we'll be running from basically every single encounter that we can.
Yeah. There's, I think the only ones we purposely fight is going to be the grind fight. Excellent.
Well, it's either going to put us on seed 249 or 250.
Okay, I did see the correct thing. That is also what I... Listen, anyone can wear the tiara and be wonderful, but unfortunately this game only allows those three to wear it, which is sad. Also, actually I don't think I can look in chat. Haha. If you're looking for any resources like we're talking about our step routing, you can go to ff4.accident, spelled AEXODEN.com, which is kind of the main hub for Final Fantasy IV speedrunning. You can find guides, you can find step routing, you can find lots of diagrams and charts and helpful resources. So if you're interested in learning this game or even just following along on what's happening, that's the place you want to be.
Right.
So
seed 250, by the way.
250, okay, perfect. So we have picked up our totally helpful and not at all gonna hurt us ever old man Tella. He is here looking for his daughter, who has run off with a bard, the worst of all crimes.
So we did accidentally take 2 steps a little bit early, so I'm going to take 2 less steps here in the save room. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to basically be taking a whole bunch of steps in this room that are going to advance my threat level and certain encounters past a point where it's going to be optimal for me to get through the next area or future on down the road.
Absolutely. It should be fine this early on, but sometimes it's not. But this is another one of those rooms where the step counter keeps moving, but you can't actually get encounters. So for this particular seed, Couch has to take, or is supposed to take 60, but will instead be taking 58. No, it's never let your daughters date bards, specifically named Edward. Though let's be clear, Edward does good work in this game. We will show you soon.
Unlike casually, Edward is actually really good in the speedrun, even though he's only used for 20 minutes.
Absolutely, but those 20 minutes, he is just so much more useful than he even pretends to be in the vanilla game. And Rydia is much the same. For this beginning part of the game, where usually in the vanilla, the casual, she's just not very useful, we do some good work with her. She is one of the characters who is actually able to equip those dancing daggers we purchased earlier. Speaking of items we got, we are picking up that darkness sword on purpose. There aren't a lot of upgrades for Cecil along the way that we will be picking up, but we really do need that sword for twofold purpose. The first is because the boss coming up is actually weak to the element on that sword, so we want to make sure that we do as much damage as possible. And two, we're not going to get another sword upgrade until after the football gauntlet, which is a few sections away from now. So, and even by that point, during that gauntlet, Cecil's going to be doing lower damage than we would like. So every little bit helps. Listen, Edgar is wonderful. There's no Edgar hate here.
Edgar is definitely better than Midgar.
Hey, you know, those are fighting words.
Alright, so coming up, this is actually the fastest boss in the game starting out, and his agility actually decreases with the amount of tentacles that he loses. So if he loses one tentacle, his agility decreases by a fair amount, and it decreases for every tentacle that it loses.
Yeah, and to get rid of those tentacles, the first one is by hitting it 3 times. Every tentacle thereafter is 2 hits. So we are making sure to equip the Darkness Sword on Cecil and the Dancing Dagger on Rydia. And as you just saw, by using the Dancing Dagger as an item once it's been equipped, you do massive damage, especially at this point of the game. So also making sure to take as many opportunities as possible to shuffle around the inventory while animations are going on and while you're just waiting anyways. It is definitely good. Like, we don't need that rod up here. It's nonsense, and we're never going to use it again. Also, just to totally blow your minds here, have you ever noticed that Octomam is an octopus like Ultros with the palette of Chupon? Just putting that out there. So at this point in the fight, we are actually going to be casting Stop on Tella, because after the first few hits, he's not doing enough hits in order to get rid of tentacles, and he's not doing enough damage to help kill. So we just want him to not be here at all. So stopping him is the best solution. Thankfully, things seem to be going mostly all right, so that is okay. I'm not saying more than that until the fight's done.
Unfortunately, he missed the first one, but you know, that's Tella. He does what he wants.
Yeah, we have a term called Tella life in the community, because Tella is so old, some of his stats are quite low, and many of the spells, including white magic, have the chance to miss. And Tella has a higher than likely chance to miss on those spells. So if anyone is going to miss that necessary stop spell you needed to do a thing, it will be Tella in your marathon run.
So I'm going to do a quick little, not inventory, but a party rearrange here, just to set up for when Edward joins our party. So when anybody new joins your party, or when they come back or whatever, they will be put into the highest spot available, which will be the spots go middle 1, top 2, bottom 3, top middle 4, and I'll let Atara take over.
Yeah, sounds great. So we're doing some more counting here. So again, we're inside of a castle. So this is actually the only main spot where you can do extra steps here, because those cracks in the floor you see don't actually count. So we're taking the right path down to that last set of stairs because there's an extra crack on the floor. So that is literally the sort of thing you have to keep an eye out for in order to do your step route manipulation. The usual path is taking the left side. Also, here's a bard. I hear he might be spooning. Get your spoons in chat to show support for showing this bard who's boss. It's not
spoons.
Yeah, spoons of the boss.
So there's a lot of little spots in this game where you can, take a break, recollect yourself, and kind of figure out, hey, this is what I gotta do next, or this is what I have to prepare for. There's a lot of these little, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute here. It's super variable in this game.
Yeah, there's so many little nitty-gritty things, and as much as I love this game and this speedrun, I have to say Final Fantasy IV is not usually the game I recommend for first-timers because there are just so many little tiny details in there that you have to worry about and focus on. So it can be really good, though. It's incredibly technical, this run, so there's a lot in there to learn and to do in order to just truly optimize it. There's a lot of spoons in chat. I appreciate this. There's not a spoon anymore. So we found out, plot-wise, that there's a new commander of the Red Wings. His name is Golbez, and he's the one who attacked the city of Damcyan in order to steal their crystal. And it turns out the bard that Tella's daughter ran away with is actually the prince, Edward. And she died protecting him from arrows. So he is now going to join us because only the royalty of Damcyan have access to the sand ruby we need in order to heal Rosa, who got sick crossing the desert to find us. So a little convoluted trail there, with Tella finishing it off by pushing a much bigger than him Dark Knight out of the way to go chase revenge. Oh, Tella, you never learn. Now, fun thing about this cave is there are actually 2 separate paths you can take in the first room and still have the exact same amount of steps, and it is a huge debate in the community whether top path or lower path is the better route. You can see here Couch taking the lower route. I am a big fan of the top route. So get your top or lower route discourse in the chat. Also, picking up the safety life. You have to walk past that chest anyways, and you don't have any other way to bring yourself back to life at this point. Plus, you didn't receive any heals from the previous fight, so Rydia is potentially in a really bad spot going into this fight, and so long as you can make it to the fight alive, you generally speaking are fine, but it's very easy to get a back attack and have Edward and Rydia sometimes killed, so getting that safety life is just a little bit of extra protection in a marathon run. So this is Antlion, who in the vanilla run vanilla game is pretty scary, counterattacks every physical attack. However, our dancing daggers, which can also be equipped by Edward, when used as an item like that, count as a magical attack. So Antlion doesn't counter, hits for only about 1 or 2 a hit, and after 3 or 4 dancing daggers is down, like easy peasy. The hardest part of that battle, remembering to parry with Cecil. There's nothing worse than just trying to blitz through it and accidentally attacking, and then you're like, welp. And even then, often it's not too bad.
The real shame about this cave is that you can't skip it in this run.
Yeah, exactly. In the Japanese run or in the randomizer, you potentially have exit items in the Japanese run or an exit spell in the randomizer, so you can just warp right out. Unfortunately, we're still early days in this run, so we have to walk. It's a bit of exercise. I think Cecil needs it. He just got pushed around by a puny, old gentleman.
Who misses stop.
Yeah, who missed stop. He can't even cast his spells right, and that's his whole thing. So, I'd be a little worried about Cecil at this point. Listen, there is nothing but Tella hate here. So, if you like Tella, put your reasons in chat.
Missing 3 out of 4 spells against Octo.
That's never happened.
Oh, not once.
I've definitely never had it happen myself in a fight. Because he can miss life as well. The life spell.
Weak, and basically any kind of status affecting spell.
Which, by the way, unfortunately, is all the spells we generally have him use. The one spell which he won't miss is the one we won't have for a while. So, yeah. Listen, sometimes you just need to throw Garnet into battle. Occasionally her hair gets cut, and it looks fabulous, and everything's good.
I think you mean Baby Grill.
Yeah, no. No, I definitely 100% do not mean that. If Tella's missing intentionally, I am purposely throwing him off into the deep ravine. Just saying. Oh, these NPCs are fairly rude. Not the rudest in the game, but did you know if you always move exactly the same way, the NPCs will also always move exactly the same way? But as you can guess, that is easier said than done.
Yeah, walking is pretty actually difficult in this game for how slow you actually walk compared to, say, Free Enterprise Rando, where speed walking feels like it's 4 times as fast.
I'm not gonna lie, I've started running this game with the quality of life hack made by Boardface, who also created Free Enterprise. And it's fabulous. It's the exact same game, it just has the quality of life things like dashing, no encounters, such like that. It's beautiful.
Coming up, we actually have another one of those little breaks. You can hold A for this whole fight coming up, because what happens is harps actually have a back row effect on the character, and whenever a character in vanilla is equipped with the back row weapon, that effect actually sticks with them throughout the whole game. Whether they die, come back to life, it doesn't matter. They will have the back row effect on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we take advantage of that in a bunch of different spots. And by also putting Edward in the middle position, he has the FF4 equivalent of 100% accuracy. So we just stick him there with a dancing dagger and let him hit away, and it works really well. And it's a good thing this water hag dies within 3 hits, because it actually has 45,672 HP. Which feels a little excessive. This game liked to, in order to make something unkillable, gave it an excessive amount of HP in most cases. So Water Hag was one of those such bosses, or enemies. The reason we run the English version of the game is some of the glitches and things work differently, and the route is completely different because there's different abilities, different items. So there is definitely Final Fantasy for Super Famicom routes, but it is a completely different run when it comes down to it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they're basically 2 completely different games. The US version was basically nerfed a whole bunch,
Real bad.
We got rid of Cecil's Dark Command, we got rid of Focus on Yang, Brace, there's all these commands and items and other things from the J version that that make it significantly harder, but also significantly easier in some spots as well.
Yeah. So yeah, while they seem like they're the same game, it's just a language different. No, they're literally completely different. Were you to play something like the PSP version, yes, the English and the Japanese versions are exactly the same. It's just a language difference. Yeah. Oh, hey, we don't have to park our hovercraft there on purpose. In the 64 floor glitch, which is referenced in the category name here, you actually have to do a lot of really what feels like silly things in order to make the glitch work. One of them is parking the hovercraft exactly where Couch parked it. If you don't, the big glitch at the end actually doesn't work. So that's a bit of fun. So we have a 7-year-old child here who was terrified of fire as her mother got killed and then her town got burned down. But Rosa either is the best trauma counselor out there or has really, really good dessert and convinces our tiny child to cast fire to never use it again. We will never use the Fire 1 spell again. It is really useless. And yes, for casual play, the PSP version is my top recommended version. It is excellent. It is very good. It's just a very different speedrun. So it's a different game to speedrun again. That's a really interesting question. And honestly, PSP. Because if you're playing it casually, because you get all the Japanese abilities, because you don't get those in the quality of life hack. So the PSP version gives you the game as it should have been presented with even better graphics, and it's just fabulous.
So this fight is technically scripted, but if you watch the damage rolls on each of the imps, you can read what they are and follow the little. There's a little like spreadsheet on Exodus' website that will tell you, hey, if you get these damage rolls, you might want to pause to change the damage rolls. So if you pause in game and partially delay somebody's turn, it will actually change the in-battle RNG, and that will change the outcome of the fight. So if you end up having a 4-turn Yang like I did there, I could pause in theory and change the outcome of that fight into a 3-turn possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, no, the 64 floor glitch has a lot of setup. The 64 floors is just the triggering of the glitch. So, we're here, we're fighting Mom Bum, who is actually the first scary boss of this run, though once you're used to the speedrun, is not scary at all. We had to do 800 damage to her first form, triggering her into what I like to call the explodey cloud phase, where she then explodes into these 6 bombs. The gray bombs have 100 HP, the orange have 50. We had triggered Yang up in order to kick, and that kick is helped set it up so hopefully Rosa could one-shot one of them, but unfortunately that didn't work. Thankfully Couch did pick up that safety life because Edward did die, and we really ideally want him alive at the end of this fight. You want the whole party alive, but especially Edward, because the next section, which is really terrifying, even when you're practiced sometimes, the football gauntlet, you only have Cecil, Yang, and Edward. So every little bit of experience and levels are needed to give Edward enough HP to hopefully survive.
Yeah, coming up we have Fubul, otherwise known as the Fubul Gauntlet, where we'll be fighting 6 encounters in a row with no break in between. With only Cecil, Yang, and Edward. It can be very risky, especially if you are unpracticed in run buffering and just general safety. I'm going to throw a save outside just in case we get some unfortunate rolls. But it can definitely be a run ruiner if you are first learning the run, or it can be a PB killer if you're looking to get a nice PB on a run.
Absolutely. No matter how well you do and how good you are at this game, sometimes the football gauntlet just says no. RNG just ends your run. So yeah, you at least when you're not searching for PBs, you always save outside of Fabul. Just do yourself a favor, and if you save nowhere else, save outside of Fabul.
Takes you like 3 seconds to save. It's not a huge time loss, and it'll save you in the long run, especially when you're first learning this run.
Yeah, when you're first learning this run, one of the other learning tools you can use is lowering the battle speed to slow things down a little bit, because this gauntlet relies a lot on the technique we saw earlier in Kaipo, the run buffering, where we try and queue up attacks while that can't run messages up and the ATB gauge is paused for everything to try and get as many attacks out as possible. Because of the 6 battles we're about to fight, 3 of them can actually be a little scary because of the soldiers we're going to be fighting. They can one-shot Edward, and it's not a good time. Not only that, even though we're going to be hearing the boss music playing during this gauntlet, all of these battles actually count as random encounters. So Edward's hide mechanic automatically hides him if he gets to critical HP during a random encounter. It does not do it during a boss fight, but again, this doesn't count as a boss fight when it comes to that. So unfortunately, not so good. I was really waiting for him to punch Edward there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So as you saw, our punchy friends of Yang and Cecil could not even manage to double team that last soldier taking it out. Needed Edward to help finish the job. Edward is truly your powerhouse in this section, so you need him to live. You have no curative items. Your safety life, even if Couch still had it, is useless, because even if you manage to get him back up, he will be in critical HP and he will hide immediately. So yeah, you just want to not need to heal. So 5 fights left.
So at the end of this fight, you'll see Edward gain a level. And what happens here is Edward will receive an extra damage multiplier, and if we can get some decent damage rolls, that is. So Edward will actually get an extra multiplier here. I have been trying to work into this route where instead of using a dancing dagger like I did in the very first fight, in the general and soldier fight, you can actually physically attack with Edward and be about 90 to 95% positive that you're going to kill one of the guards with a physical swing versus just a dancing dagger attack.
And I believe that is faster than doing a dancing dagger.
Yeah, it saves the whole animation of throwing the dancing dagger and then waiting out there for the command to go away.
Yeah.
It's not a huge time save, but it is definitely a one of those, minor time saves that, a world record runner is going to want to, try and add into their run.
Okay, so we've got 3 of our fights down and 2 of the general fighter fights down, which is great. Those are our really scary ones. We do have this gargoyle coming up, but that's not so bad because, again, 1 dancing dagger will take it out. However, if you let it live for long enough, it can use weak on you, which will reduce whoever the target is to single-digit HP, which is less than ideal for this, as you still have 2 fights left after the gargoyle.
A fun fact about the gargoyle fight: if you are running during its death animation, you will save, I think it's 37 frames or something like that. I do need to get up and get that really quick. I'll be right back.
Listen, Edward's just gonna fall. We don't need it. No! Edward does not want the door to be answered. Listen, Edward, we can't stop this. Nothing can stop this.
Alright. Sorry about that, everyone.
Welcome back.
My wife just got home and she didn't have her key.
She knew
Not a huge
break.
time loss.
Listen, Edward just needed to lie on the ground for a bit. She's helping us out.
He just needed a rest.
there. It's Lady Couch. Say hi to Lady Couch, everyone. Okay, and we've got our 6 fights down. The scary part of the Fool Gauntlet is over. Now, we do have 1 fight left, but it is another scripted fight. The only really challenge with this fight is hoping RNG is going to be on our side. We want to kill Cecil to end this fight. You cannot win it. There's no point really even trying. So we want to help this lovely Dragoon out in hurting Cecil. So we're hoping between Cecil's attack and Kane's jump to get Cecil in critical HP, which unfortunately did not happen, meaning we get the extra text, which is the worst. There is no manip for this fight. It is just RNG and marathon luck.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Kane likes to roll really low there sometimes. The lowest he can roll is a 144.
I find it's always Cecil for me. I'm like, okay, that was a decent hit from Kane. What are you going to do, Cecil? 12. Really? Come on.
That sounds like Cecil to me.
Yeah. Like I mentioned about that Darkness Sword earlier, it is just not cutting it by this point already. So you definitely want to, yeah, we get our next sword in just a few minutes, but no more fights before that. I think we all tried to beat Kane back in the day, but unfortunately, there's no point. So there's going to be at least 1 other fight like that in this run where we are going to purposely do what we have to die quicker, because even if we could win in that section, it is much faster to die.
I mean, if you can do like 65,000, you can go ahead and try and kill Kane, but...
Yeah, no. Listen, Cecil can't even hit himself for like 12. Trying to do 65,000? Just not even worth it.
It's a good point. So, I'm actually going to walk very specifically through here. If I walk on the carpet here in the throne room, it actually doesn't count as any steps. And I want to take... it's looking like as many steps extra as I can. Oh yeah, we're going to be walking a lot here.
Oh, God. Yeah, Fabul is one of the places where you're going to introduce to both extra and optional steps. So optional steps are where you change where you walk to gain or save steps. And extra steps are where you walk back and forth a certain amount of time to purposely pick up extra steps. So not walking on the carpet, as Couch mentioned earlier, was a series of optional steps that he wanted to get. So getting that black sword for Cecil, so he'll have an upgrade, which is also going to help the climb up Manor Deals, which is coming up. Plus, sorry, not sorry, we're taking that tiara back. We worked hard to get that, and we want to keep it. I've never thought about doing my extra steps right there. There's a few different spots as you walk through which can be used. Again, as long as they're with the inside of the castle, it counts. So, like, as soon as Couch leaves the tower, the steps don't count. But once he's back inside the tower, they do.
Yeah, general rule of thumb in castles, if you're on the black tile, don't worry about it. Your steps won't count. But if you're on the brown floor tile, they will usually count. It just depends on, what castle you're in, where you're at. This game is really weird when it comes to what counts and what doesn't.
It's so weird. Sometimes if you walk behind a pillar, there's no steps in front of shops, but not always. It's not consistent. You just need to know the location where it is and isn't safe. Okay, so we are in for the world's longest boat ride, where we unfortunately cannot just walk away. It is not a break. The programmers of this game hated us and decided to put lots of random text in the middle. Thanks a lot, Square.
I know, right? Can't even hold buttons.
Yeah, you can only hold the buttons in battle. Outside of battle, you must mash to advance the text. It's rude. So the recap of No 64 is referring to our no credits warp run, where we use the 64 floor glitch in order to skip a third of the game and cheese the final boss. We are not using that glitch in this category, so it's no 64, as in no 64 floor glitch. We'll be doing all of the game and fighting all the mandatory bosses.
And the credits warp, for reference, does use the 64 floor glitch as well.
It's just rude.
Yeah.
Okay, and as requested by chat, we need to keep an eye on everyone on the boat here. We're going to have a good old game of jumped or pushed. Keep an eye on Yang, and keep an eye on our Dark Knight Cecil. And then, chat, you'll be the ones to tell me, did Yang jump or was he pushed?
Why not both?
Listen, it has to be one or the other. Yeah, I am also on team pushed. Yeah, I wish No 64 was a fancy term for 2 players, 1 controller. That is unfortunately not correct. I don't think there's any 2-player options for Final Fantasy IV. I think 5 or 6 was the first game to introduce that.
In the J version, there was a 2-player version. There's an option in the menu where you could pick either 2-player or 1-player, but it was still you controlling. It was still controlling the same team.
Yeah, see, it was pushed. Listen. Also, please enjoy the beep boops in this music. I cannot sing them because I can't hear the music, but just enjoy them. So, we're doing some shopping here. There's not much shopping in this category because you want to save time. It's not about money. We've got lots of money, but we want to save time. So that's going to be the main item shop for this run. There will be some others, but we are buying a few things there. Just picking up a few equipment bits too, just for a little bit of extra safety. You can get more than that for safety, and you can get less than that if you kind of want to yellow it. But Couch kind of doing a happy in between and getting just a few pieces of items to guarantee a little bit more safety. Also, welcome to Mysidia. This is the town where Cecil stole that crystal at the beginning of the game. And so he shows up, essentially broken alone, being like, hey, I need your help. We need to save the world. Bad things are going to happen if we let Golbez do things. And the Elder's like, nope, we don't trust you. You stole our crystal. And Cecil's like, but you've got to. We need help saving the world. And the Elder's like, nope, you gotta go to the mountain and you have to become a paladin. That's the only way we'll trust you. And Cecil's like, we don't have time for this. The Elder's all, nope, too bad. And Cecil's like, fine, I'll go to the mountain. And then the Elder's like, here, take these 5-year-old twins with you. And you're like, excuse me? The Elder doesn't trust you enough to help you save the world, but will hand over 2 5-year-olds to Cecil's care. What? Worst parental figure ever.
Back to the 2-player thing. You can actually unplug your controller mid-run and plug it into the second controller slot, and it still works. Just want to throw that out there.
That is really cool. But yes, the twins are fabulous. They do some really good work, especially here on Mount Ordeals, but weirdly, they're not even as good as Edward. But having them and their twin cast mechanic is going to lead for some hopefully fun shenanigans at the top of the mountain. But we'll see how this goes. Oh my gosh, there's actually a poll. Excuse me, I can't commentate. I gotta vote.
So there's another huge difference between the J version and the US version right now. That little ball that you see floating above Rosa is actually a guillotine in the J version. For some reason, the censors thought, being crushed to death was a lot better than, just having your head cut off.
Yeah, I literally don't understand that. I think they thought they were censoring, and they really failed when you think about it. Like, crush damage, people crush damage. Just no. And yes, I think everyone agrees that Porum and Palom, especially Porum, are babysitting Cecil. And Palom. So for those who are not familiar or who always mix up the twins' names, Porum is the white mage, Palom is the black mage. Palom is the one with the green jumper. Porum, the white mage, is the one with the red jumper.
Porum is also the one that is very poor at being good.
Oh, rude. Excuse me. We will not accept this rudeness here. There are great, huge debates about characters and such, especially in the randomizer, the free enterprise community. I won't lie, I'm on team loves Rosa, hates Porum, but rude. Yeah, we joke that room is actually the bowling alley because of the ball up there. There's a few censorship things like that in this game where you're like, why? Why? Just why? Listen, I think fighting CPU solo is worse than being crushed.
Definitely.
CPU is rude. So rude. And look, everyone, Tella's back. Hooray!
Let's just pray he doesn't miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, the things which make Palom, especially our Black Mage twin, great, don't get used in the vanilla speedrun. We just don't have the time or get the levels to make him as effective. In the randomizer, however, he can be put to very good use, but not so much here. However, we are going to be getting some things set up. Oh, are you heckin' kidding me? Rude.
What a game.
One step. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a little funny. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, the game's trying to tell you something.
Oh yeah, it's already telling me.
Oh god. So, what we're gonna be doing here, not so much in this fight, but in the next fight, but it can be done in this fight, is something called the Mimic Glitch, where we abuse the mechanics of the twin cast in order to toss items at bosses which shouldn't be tossed, such as a carrot or a trash can. And the setup for the carrot in this fight, which is not going to be done, it has Porum dying on the way up the mountain, which is what I was referencing when she died. So here, I believe we're doing twin strats, where we're using Cure 2 potions to one-shot each of those ghasts. We want to get them out of the way before the twins get their twin cast off. And thankfully, we did get Flare. Now, the twins have two different spells they could use. They can get Comet, which is better for multi-enemy attack, and cost more HP. I think it's 20. And then we have Flare, which is actually, it's the one we want. It only costs 10 MP, but it's a single enemy attack. So when attacking someone like Mylon here, just Mylon, Flare will always do more damage than Comet, so we really want to get Flare. One of them is a 75% chance, and one of them is a 25% chance. I think Flare is actually the 75% one, but I can never remember. Oh, my body. Goodbye, Mylon. Okay, so we're going to be doing a very specific setup here, because we are going to actually be doing what is called the Mimic Glitch. So how the twin cast works is one twin initiates it, and the other twin gets put in a mimic status. Now, if one twin starts this twin cast, but then dies before it can happen, the second twin, in this case it's going to be Palom, will be put into that mimic status. So we're going to be trying to get that set up here now. Purposely trying to do damage to Porum, casting Stop on Cecil. having Porum cast Twin, initiating it, and yeah, she should die from that ice too. Cecil tries to use the cure tube, or sorry, the potions. You back out of it and instead trade that item, the cure twos, or whichever item you tried to use with the item you're trying to throw, in this case the carrot, and so it gets tossed. And carrot, I believe, is the one that's the fire spell?
Yes.
Yes, so carrot, when thrown as an item, is 8 times fire 3, doing over 7,000 damage to Mylon Z, which is incredibly rude and damaging, one-shotting this poor fiend who just wanted to throw you into the deep ravine, but not today, Mylon. It's your turn for the ravine. The only problem with that strat, though it is so good, is you don't get Piggy Pally.
Indeed.
And that is rude. One of the strategies for that Mylon Z fight is to turn a certain number of your characters into pigs in order to protect them from the poison effect in the battle, using the status priority chart to kind of juggle things around. And by doing that, you'll walk into this room with Cecil as a pig. So the pig gets the sword, and it's fabulous. Yeah, vegetables too powerful. So welcome. Cecil is almost a paladin. If you were doing the paladin percent category, this would be the last fight that Couch is going into right now. Now, casually, the strategy for this Dark Knight fight is to just sit there and wait for the text, the battle ends. But in the English version only, they, for some reason, lowered Dark Knight Cecil's HP to 1200. And Paladin Cecil can equip Dancing Daggers, so in 3 to 4, or very rarely 5 hits, you can actually kill Dark Knight Cecil, saving yourself from getting all of that text, saving a lot of time. So it is the ideal fight. I think that was 4 you got there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so... And as soon as we get the message here saying that Cecil became a paladin, that's time on paladin percent. But again, this is not paladin percent. We've still got another 2-ish hours to go. But Cecil is a paladin, and there's something extra that comes with this, which is super helpful and that we are going to be taking great advantage of. And that is our lovely, lovely Tella, who we love so much and has never missed a spell in his life, and definitely not in this run, remembers all of his lost spells, including Meteo.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cecil becomes a white mage.
Yeah, exactly. He might as well, honestly. But Tella, rather than having just a stack of basically useless spells, gets all of his spells back. So we're going to make use of some of those. We're going to make use of some Ice 2, some Lit 3. He's going to be able to do some real damage now. So it's his time to shine. And Cecil's super pretty now, so, own it. Yes, all Tellas remembered their spells, wherever they are. See? Push always wins.
And, yeah, Silver, you can do this in a 5 dagger. If you roll below 250 each 4 times, you will definitely end up with a 5 dagger.
5 dagger. 5 dagger usually misses the text though, but not always. So you don't 5 dagger is bad. Nobody likes that, except for Cheddar. Cheddar loves that.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that is a good fact in chat. Tella will never gain more MP through leveling. Actually, Tella's stats go down as he levels up because he is old, so leveling up means technically getting older, and it's not so good for him.
I mean, it's good for you if you don't like Tella.
And I don't.
Mood.
Yeah. Listen, Accident, stop crushing my hopes and dreams. All of them go down. Just like Tella. Forever. So did you know there's also a chocobo forest below Mount Ordeals? They literally have these things stashed everywhere, and you definitely learn the locations of most, if not all of them, in the speedruns.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's even some really bizarre hidden ones that you're like, why would there even be a chocobo forest here? It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one on that island.
Yeah, you're just like, why? Yeah, nobody knows.
And again, we're coming up on another one of these parts that, you know, we can set the controller down for 20, 30 seconds to take a break. The Long Legend.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read this for us, Cheddar? No? Okay.
But she's reading. Can't you hear her? See? She's so good. Best commentator. The worst part about this long legend is this is not the only time you get to hear it. And every time it goes that slow, you're like, why? We've read it already, please. Let me skip it.
They just want to make sure you understand that one to be born from a dragon.
I don't care. Can I be born from, like, the sun instead?
Ooh.
It's warmer. Okay, so Cecil and Tella are like, okay, now that we've proven ourselves, we have to go, you know, fight Golbez and stuff. And the twins are like, we're coming too. And the elder's like, maybe that's not a good idea. You know, you're a bit young to be doing this. And you're like, now you care? Either way, they decide that they know what they want to do, even at 5 years old. And away they go. So you now have access to the Serpent Road, which is the pathway between Mysidia and Barrentown. And yes, everyone say hello to Cheddar, who is Couch's kitty. Speaking of things happening in later levels, did you know Edward actually starts gaining quite a few, quite a lot of HP and stuff in, like, the 60s and mainly the 70s? He starts getting a huge jump.
Yeah, once Edward hits level 70, he actually gains the highest stat growth that you can get. You do have, there's 8 different possibilities of stat growth for you when you level up when you hit 70. And that's going to vary depending on RNG, basically. So you can basically max out Edward's stats if you watch what stats he gains when he levels up and reset to get the optimal stat growths.
Nice. So here we are doing the 2 battles in the Baron Inn. First, we took out the Baron guards using dancing daggers from both Palom and Cecil. Thankfully, getting Palom and Porum down to low HP. We don't really need them here. Thankfully as well, this fight is really easy in that as soon as Karate here has done his second kick, you can attack him with Cecil. And as long as it's just the regular attack command, it doesn't even matter what Cecil's equipped with, whether he hits or misses, Yang will go ouch and fall to the ground. Like, you can literally miss. And he goes ouch and falls.
It's
You're
because
like,
you hurt his feelings.
Yeah, you did. You hurt his feelings. Even just, swinging at him. He didn't like it. No, it's like when you step in, like, a cold puddle, or when you were younger and you say ow even before you were hit, or, the shock of the cold.
Exactly.
It's that. Yeah.
There actually is a timing point to where you can hit Yang before he does his second kick and end the fight. It is... I don't know exactly how specific it is. I know Exodin knows a tiny bit more about that than I do, but there is timing-wise where you can hit him before his second kick and end that fight.
Yep. And the Baron key, the little symbol of the key, looks like Jafar's staff from Alen.
I'll never forgive you for that one.
Yep. I'm not sorry. We also didn't get Ghost Girl. If that girl NPC stops in the right spot, you just walk through her. Okay, now that we have the Baron key and have access to the locked shop, we can go shopping, and we're going to. In some of the other categories, this is a much more precise shop because items are really much more important there. But here we're just picking up the specific items we're going to need for characters we're going to be picking up, or that later on we'll be equipping onto our current characters. Okay, so we are in the Barren Waterway. It always takes a lot for me to not check the chests in here now.
I know, right?
Those three are just right there. They could have something good in them.
Rando has ruined me for so many vanilla games.
That's me too. Randomizers, telling you, they're so much fun. But yes, this is just a walk. There's nothing we want to pick up in here. We don't want to fight anything. Ideally, actually, Palom and Porum will take some hits. That would be great. We want them to die in the next fight. So, the more hits they can take on our way, the better. I think, in fact, the shopkeepers were locked into the shop. I hope they had enough food.
I know, right?
They have a secret exit out the back.
So what we really want to happen if we get a back attack like situation is we want Yang to be hit, since Yang has the highest HP, and we want Yang dead for the Baigan fight. Fortunately, none of that happened.
No. One of the important things about this particular route is actually the experience routing. There is such thing as a ghost party a shadow party in this game, meaning certain characters who you have previously recruited but who are not currently in your party are still getting a certain amount of experience based on how many people are in your party or who are alive at the end of a battle. So we're going to be purposely manipulating that in order to make sure certain folks who are not currently with us get enough levels, or that certain people who are with us get to certain level kind of thresholds. So right now we're doing a final equip, doing nothing special with Tella's MP. Doesn't matter that it's now Boomerang 6. That's totally normal.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what his MP always looks like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guards never do their job. They're bad.
Just casting, Cure 4 3 times when you can only cast it twice.
Listen, you gotta make sure you're really cured up before this fight. Baigan has snake arms. That's scary.
Yeah, they hiss and they're just like scary.
Yeah. How long do most randomizer runs last? Depends on the flag set. They can be as short as 15 minutes or as long as like 6 hours. There's a lot of flexibility in the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise flag set. So, here we have Baigan, who smells like a monster. He has the best snake arms ever. And we are doing some very specific strategies here. Baigan somewhat helping us out by killing Palom. Unfortunately, we wanted him to kill Porum, so Palom could help us kill the party members, but that's fine. Looks like with the Dancing Dagger, Cecil was able to do just fine. He's also currently covering Tella, because Tella has the most important job in this fight, and we don't want him to die, and that is casting Meteor. So the Boomerang 6 of his MP was when you try and use a spell you don't have enough MP for, and you quickly swap to a spell you do have enough MP for, and then frame perfectly swap back, you will cast a spell you don't have enough MP to use, and you will underflow your MP. So Tella currently has a lot of MP, so more than enough to not only cast Meteor, but to cast it multiple times. Now, unfortunately, Meteor, while a super powerful spell, is really, really slow. So it's not actually going to be used in every fight we have Tella. In fact, the fight that Couch is getting ready for here against Kainazzo, we are not going to be using it. We're going to be using Lit 3, which is Kainazzo's weakness. I think his head might have been a snake as well, but his arms definitely were. Like, his hands were snake faces. And it's kind of amazing. Okay, so we did bring back Yang for the beginning of this fight to try and do a little bit of extra damage on Kainazzo before he brings up his wave. But not so high that he wouldn't potentially die. Ooh, bad luck. So here's an example of Tella being awful and not doing enough damage with that lit 3. Kainazzo has 4,000 HP, and so even with the extra hit from Yang and that extra hit from Cecil, not quite doing enough damage. Dead now, at least.
Oh, man.
That was Tella life. Like, Tella has such potential to do really powerful things, and then just fails. You have enough MP to cast lit 3, like, 1,000 times, and you still just don't do enough damage. Like, Tella, this is why I don't like you, Tella. Anyways, we did it. And the one of the better bearded folks shows up, Sid. Though sadly, Sid does not get used to his full potential in this speedrun. He has one job, and let's be clear, it's a very important job. But, it's not as much as he could potentially do. We'll show it off soon. But right now, we're gonna have some plot sequences. We have 6 characters. Nothing bad ever happens in RPGs when you have more than the party limit. So, we'll continue on.
So Kainazzo actually has 2 weaknesses. He's weak to ice when he is not surrounded by water. He's lit to lightning when he is surrounded by water.
Yes.
It's really weird, but that's one reason that we have both an Ice Claw and Thunder Claw on Yang, to get a little bit more damage in there to try and compensate for Tella deciding to, roll really low.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot to try and compensate for the fact that Tella's actually really bad. He has such potential to be good, but...
I mean, he can only cast Meteor 3 times before he dies.
He's not even supposed to be able to cast it once. But yes, thankfully, Meteor can't miss. So as long as Tella doesn't get killed while trying to cast it, it'll be fine. There are many Final Fantasy games to play, even just casually, if you are interested, and all different types of genres kind of within there for JRPGs. So there's huge debates in the Final Fantasy community as to which is the best, and what it comes down to is, which one do you enjoy the most? So you can always, usually, as long as you like RPGs at all, find at least one you like. But that's not even a guarantee. Meanwhile, the bowling alley.
So we're gonna shoot for a quote-unquote swag landing here. Flying the airship is actually really hard in this game because if you need to make tiny little movements, it's actually really tough to do. You need to like barely tap your D-pad. So to kind of make up for that, I'm gonna try and land in the one tile spot right next to the castle. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, and it is so difficult, we do refer to it as the swag landing, because it truly is swag. In the randomizer and the quality of life hack, a button was added that you can press to slow the airship down so you don't move quite so fast. Unfortunately, we don't have that here, so good luck. I think everybody was very mad that your inventory comes up when you talk to Paladin Porm. Anyone else used up most of your inventory trying to be like, something will finally work. So, speaking of cutscenes and different things that can happen in this game, unlike some of the other games, you can use basically any button on your controller in order to progress the text. You can't hold them, but if you mash basically any button, text will proceed, and that's really good. However, there's a few spots where you do not, under any circumstance, want to use the X button to mash. This cutscene is one of them. The X button is the button that you use in order to get into your menu. And if you are mashing it to mash through your text here, when you finish this cutscene, the game tries to go into your menu. It's too early, things aren't ready, you can and often will soft lock. So there's an easy way to avoid it. Don't press X. If you don't press the X button through this cutscene, you will never soft lock. But if you do, bad times.
We got it.
Oh, swag. Oh my gosh, that's really hard. You have to know even like which line of that hovercraft rocks in advance to like turn on. Okay, getting a few more extra steps in here. So, again, which area you're going to have to take these extra steps in depends on which of those 256 encounter seeds you're on. So, really difficult to not only step route, but to keep that step route. One extra step in the wrong spot, and you can just be done. Step route wise, not route wise, you'll be fine. Yeah, there's a lot of things cut out of the English version, unfortunately. I think Invenerable can tell us what the job dwarf is. Oh, look, we've got some. There's a random dwarf in one of the towns in the underground who actually just has a random job. You just talk to them, they're like, I'm a farmer, and you're like, okay, thanks. So it was made into a Easter egg in the randomizer. So what job that dwarf has is randomized. Just a little silly fun thing. So in order to use spells when you are in an MP underflow state, you have to be in battle. So if you want to use a spell outside of battle, you actually have to use an ether to bring your MP back up into a positive, so you can use it. And we don't want to walk out of any place we don't have to. We have the exit spell now, but only on Tella currently. So using an ether there as soon as we get the twin harp from Edward, so we can use that exit out, and now we are hunting for black chocobos, which is easier said than done. There is technically a manipulation, however, it involves watching frog movement as you walk into Toroya, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm just gonna YOLO it, and I find if you walk up and to the right towards the tail, usually there's one hiding up there.
Yeah.
So it's the worst. So the mechanic of this cave Magnus, is a magnetic cave, so you're not supposed to be wearing any metallic gear. Anyone who's wearing metallic gear is paralyzed. So right now you can't tell because every battle that Couch gets into, he's running from. Everyone except for Sid is currently paralyzed. Sid is only wearing cloth or non-metallic gear, so we need him to stay A-okay to be able to run away. As long as Sid is at pretty decent health and does not get hit with something mean, running away is no big deal here. So we're going to keep running away. But this is going to be really important once we get to the boss of this cavern, the Dark Elf. So we will be demonstrating that. And speaking of demonstrating, here's one of the save rooms and a spot where you take extra steps again. So for those who missed the explanation earlier, the step routing will have us go into spaces which either have no encounter rate or a lower encounter rate, and have us take extra steps in order to avoid encounters. Because if you hit an encounter number in a room that has no encounters, you don't get the encounter. It just continues ticking along the table. So you just take steps until you get to a better part of the table. So the guide tells you exactly when and where you should step and for how long, and it's not too bad. Yeah, we don't talk about those here. Yes, mind flayers are rude. They can actually paralyze you. So, right at the beginning of the game, we stole an iron glove from Cain. That is really important as a time save, and we're going to show you why here. So, we are, of course, going to talk to Dark Elf and die. Goodbye. Rip run. That was a good time. 1 hour and 22 minutes. Looks good to me. But no. I don't think you can win that fight, and even if you can, it's not worth the effort because you still have to fight him the second time. So the fastest way to get out of that fight is to die. And the fastest way to die is to have your entire party paralyzed. So by putting that metal gear on Sid, there you go. Doop! We got caught. Gotta get out of our barrel or our box and play beautiful music.
Wonder what song it's gonna be today.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's guess. Can you manipulate your encounter table? Yes. There are timings in order to do a hard reset for seed 43, which is the best encounter seed, no matter which category you're running, of the 3 main categories, which are Paladin percent, no credit warp, and no 64 like we're running here. Unfortunately, that is really precise. It's hard to get and often not worth it. So if you play enough Final Fantasy IV, you will learn the areas you will, generally speaking, need to take the extra steps. So when the guide tells you take extra steps here, take optional steps here, you'll know where you're supposed to be taking them. But yeah, it's a lot. I cannot overstate how difficult the step routing is in this game. Wow. So we purposely cast Virus on Sid because he did his job. He walked into a magic fight with an iron glove and died. And that was what we needed him for. Goodbye. Thank you, Sid. We did not want Cecil to get weaked there, but that's okay. We can make it work. So the strategy for this fight is once Dark Elf switches into the Dark Dragon form, Dark Elf actually loses his boss bit, making him actually vulnerable to status ailments that usually bosses are not. So by using Weak, we bring Dark Elf down to 1-digit HP, and so 1 hit from anyone in your party, and he's dead. It's beautiful. Also, don't walk out and forget that crystal. You will hate yourself and have to walk all the way back down. Anyone who speedruns this game has done it at least once. Listen, we don't judge elves here. So, once again, taking advantage of Tella having that exit spell because we don't like walking. So we're exiting right out. Basically, at this point, we're going to exit out of absolutely every spot we're able to, and providing we still have the exit spell when we need it. There are a few locations that unfortunately the exit spell does not work. In this category, you can actually take a yellow or a black chocobo back down to Toria to save time and steps. In the glitch category, the big glitch category of no credits warp, you actually have to take a very specific chocobo and park it in a very specific spot. But again, we're not running that category, so we're good. Taking 1 extra step off of that carpet, which I believe was intentional.
Yes.
And I thought so. It looked very, very purposeful. And continuing with the plot. Okay, and now that we did that bit of plot, we are going to rearrange some of our characters and once again cast exit because the speed police have found us and we need to run quickly. Does the step counter increment in the Chocobo woods? No, it does not. World maps, yes. Inside of castles, yes. Outside of castles, no. Towns, no. It's bizarre.
There's a lot of tiles that count, and there's a lot of tiles that don't count. There's some that you'd be like, oh, those don't count, that doesn't matter. And then you're like, oh, well, they do, and I'm kind of SOL now.
Yeah, it's really rude. Listen, no one is more powerful than Cheddar. We're just happy to be here along with her. Also, we're now in the Tower of Zot. The Tower of Zot is scary. This is one of the points in the game where the back attack rate starts getting quite high, and we don't really have the means to avoid that. So our only strategy is to keep Cecil especially up and healed. And that's kind of the best we can do, and pray. Later on, once we get some different party members and some different gear, we can actually start manipulating that rate so we can get less back attacks and make it easier for us to run away. And yes, no 64 refers to the category as in there's a big 64 floor glitch, which skips a third of the game, and we're not doing that. So here we're going to fight Flame Dog, which we knew was in here. We need the Fire Sword, which is here. And you'll notice Tella's starting to run out of MP. Now, we did use an ether on him, but we purposely have carefully incremented out how much MP he has for all of the actions we wanted to do. So we had enough for those exit spells, we had enough for weak, and we had enough for that ice 2. And now we're in the perfect situation in order to MP underflow again. So that's perfect.
Almost like somebody routed this game out.
What? Yeah, we have a very good community who has done a lot of routing and is actually still actively working on this game, trying to find every little time save we can. I've been running this for almost 3 years now, and there's been so much found and so many time saves in that time, and still going. In fact, the randomizer has helped us find things we didn't know before, because it got us to try things in situations we never even thought about trying before. So it's been really good. Listen, stairs are hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just walking in general is hard.
Agreed. Okay, so we are almost out of here. This place is legit the worst. You're just kind of walking around, not doing anything in particular, trying to get to your path.
So Tella does have a little bit low HP, unfortunately, so we are going to have to take a quick menu before we fight the Magus Sisters to make sure Tella's at full health. We can't have Tella die during this fight, otherwise it gets extremely scary.
Really, really scary. You do not want to do it. We've definitely had community members have to try and do that, and impressive to watch, but you don't want to have to be the person having to do this fight without Tella. With just Cecil, you just really don't get a chance to bring Tella back unless you really get lucky. What's that? I hear we're quoting some folks in a chat. Everyone get your quotes ready. So once again, we are going to use that cover ability on Tella. We want Cecil to take as much of the damage as possible. It does only work for physical attacks, though. It does not work for magic, so we just kind of have to hope for the best. Okay, and once again, we are going to take that Meteos spell. Also going to be doing some inventory management and doing a half duplication glitch, I believe I saw you do there. So that will be used to duplicate the fire swords so we can get 2 of them. We don't need a stack of them. We don't need them for money. We just need 2 fire swords.
And another one of those fancy break times.
The greatest. Yeah, this is one of the few breaks I like a lot. Because this is a fight, all the text progresses itself. You're not controlling Tella, so you can just kind of sit here and chill. But everyone's like, no, don't use Meteo. That would be the worst. No, Tella, you'll die. Ignoring the fact that Tella has already used Meteo a few times. Give my life to defeat you! You didn't give your life to defeat the other 2 bosses we used it on, Tella. Come on. He's doing the extra special Meteo for Golbez. I'd just like to notify everyone my cat is also saying hi.
Oh my, more kitties.
Kitty's cheering us on. Everyone, get your lovely pets to cheer this wonderful run on.
Speaking of kitties.
You got a twofer there. Okay, so unfortunately, Medio, while powerful, was not enough to take out Golbez. And, but at least, you know, Kain gets a nap out of it. Go Kain.
3 times was just a little too much for Tella.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone, get your Fs in chat for poor Tella.
Just remember, nobody dies in this game unless they flicker and fade away.
Yeah. Yeah, if your avatar does not actively disappear from the screen, they're not dead. But, bad news. Sorry, Tella. Goodbye forever. But now, apparently, Kain was being mind controlled that whole time, but he's okay now. He's gonna come and work with you now. And you're like, great. Thanks, Kain. We love you.
Only one betrayal so far.
Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty good track record.
Also, 2 sprites, 1 tile.
Oh my.
Oh my. So you don't see this sort of technology anywhere else. Final Fantasy IV was ahead of its time. Hey, at least Tella didn't miss on his way out. That would have been hilarious, though. Very Tella style. I'll give my life to kill you with Medio, miss. Well, oh well. Okay, now we're actually heading into a very potentially scary fight, but one that can also be very beautiful if well done, which I personally am not so good at doing, but I don't die there so much. We also wanted to make sure that Kain was at level 19 for this fight, which he is. Things change drastically if Kain is only level 18. So that's why we purposely made sure certain numbers of people were dead in previous fights. So we made sure to resurrect everyone and didn't bother to cure anyone. We just wanted to life them up because Cecil, as a paladin, will automatically cover anyone who is in the critical state. You only use the cover ability if you want to just make sure no one gets someone in specifics does not get physically hit at all. So the goal here, we're going to be using timed jumps in order to keep Val out of that tornado form as much as possible, throw as much damage on her as possible in between tornado forms, and also take advantage of the fact that most bosses are still susceptible to the slow spell. And now that we have Rosa back, we will be using that in multiple boss fights. So 1 to 2 slows usually will do it. 2 is ideal. More than 2, I don't even think you're getting any additional effect. And if you are, it's not worth it. So 2 is what we do for Val, and gonna be tossing dancing daggers and continue on. Once you have the 2 slow spells cast on Val from Rosa, Rosa's job will now be to keep Cecil at full or at as high HP as possible, because it's no good to the party in keeping them alive if he's gonna die from the hit when he's covering someone. So, but as long as you can keep Cecil in good health, everyone else is whatever, because Val only does, other than those weaks and petrifies, the only damage she does is physical. So Cecil will cover all of that. And those cure 2s cure more than enough that we need. So generally speaking, this battle goes fast enough we can ignore the petrification, and even then, I personally only worry about it if it's on like the middle 3. If it's on Sid or Yang, whatever.
That was actually a really good fight. I got Good damage rolls and everything kind of just fell into place.
It did, yeah. That went really well. Val is, yeah, a really not very nice fight at all. So really good job on that. Yeah, some of the bosses you do a lot of work on, but aren't particularly hard. Like Kainazzo, that didn't go well, and it was still easy. But Val is one of those fights that can just, once it starts to go bad, it just keeps cascading terribly. But no, it went really well. And we're done, and Rosa now knows exit. Did you know that Rosa does not learn exit until you finish the Tower of Zot? You can get her up to level 99 before that, and she will learn all the rest of the white magic spells except for exit. So, but she has it now, and that's good because we just lost our other exit caster.
The good news is I probably won't lose my step route through Dwarf Castle since it has every single map I need to take.
Nice. Yeah, Accident's website, which has the guides, he, in the last year, did a major upgrade and update to it, generating a mostly automatic seed finder, which is so helpful. And for every different of those encounter seeds you can be on, it will give you a step-by-step, the map for every single like spot and where you're supposed to take the extra steps and how many. It's beautiful. Like, all the resources were plentiful and really helpful before that, but those are just out of this world. They're really incredibly helpful, especially for someone like me who's really visual. Exit really is a powerful spell, and thankfully, the translators and the localization team did not realize that, so left it in. Also, speaking of break times, we're dropping a rock down a well and just chilling. Look at us coming here to visit and blowing up a mountain. That's how we roll. Go team!
Go team.
Go team. Okay, so into the Underworld we will be going. This part always throws me off these days because I go underground, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna pilot here, but the game automatically takes control when you come underground. And you're gonna jump in front of some tanks and some airships. That can never possibly go wrong.
So, quick step back to that exit spell really quick. I was playing Mystic Quest last night. Somebody made a very amusing statement. What if exit just brought you out of the menu?
That would be amazing. Still faster than exiting out, like, manually. Wouldn't be worth the MP, I wouldn't think. But if that's all it did, that'd be pretty cool, though. I love it.
Alright, so this next fight coming up is actually can be really variable depending on what ATB you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna throw a quick save down just in case we go a little sideways.
Yeah, this series, basically everything from here on can, for the most part, can be really scary until you get used to it. It's why I'm kind of glad there's essentially a tier system for the length of the runs. Between the just over an hour Paladin run, the just over 2 hours no credit warp run, and then this 3 to 4 hour no 64 run, because it allows you to just learn segments of the game and get used to them and still submit times. They do change a little bit in between the different routes. And even in this particular category, there's different routes within, which we'll talk about a little more later. So there can be a lot to learn, but you can kind of segment it because a lot of it doesn't change much. Now, this used to be my most hated fight. It involves timings and is incredibly rude.
Yeah, this fight, depending on which starting ATB you get, you can just lose time just because of different ATB.
Yeah. Gotta wait for the dolls to dance.
Dancing dolls o' doom.
Okay, so the strategy for this fight, we want to, once you are down to just one doll of one color, like of the 6 dolls, only one doll left, these dolls will join together into one big doll, the Calcabrina doll. We don't want that to happen. We want to kill them before that. Now, if you can kill the last blue doll around the same time you kill the last orange doll, you can actually kill them before they join together and it will end the fight. But the blue dolls in the back have more HP than the ones in the front. And we are going to use the slow spell on the ones, technically all of them, but it only works on the ones in the back. And we're going to try and manage all of these between Cecil's and Kane's damage. Cecil attacking the front, Kane attacking the back. Rose, on the other hand, has a really important job outside of slowing these enemies. She is going to be casting Mute on the party, while Yang is using Kick to try and make it easier to kill these last two. Now, that Mute spell may seem very counterintuitive, but it is incredibly important for the next fight. Earlier in this speedrun, I made reference to a status element priority chart. What that means is in this game, there is actually a level of priority for each of the status elements, meaning if you have certain status ailments, you cannot be inflicted with one which is lower than it in the chart. So in this case, we are using Mute as it has a higher priority than the upcoming spell of Paralyze. So it will allow us to get some extra actions in this upcoming Golbez fight, which you're not supposed to have, and will make this fight much faster because this can be really scary, and we do not want to have Rydia show up. Like, we love Rydia, she's still going to get her experience, but it is slower for her to actually take the time to appear. So how we wanted it is, as you saw, because of timings, we managed to get Kane up in the air with that jump. With that timing, he will not land until Golbez is done talking and you can finally start damaging him again. Couch now also has the time to sit Cecil in the menu and shove anything unnecessary down to the bottom to make room, and also to make sure he is equipped with the fire sword. As soon as you see that and you Cecil, that is the last message from Golbez before the Mist Dragon shows up and blows his shadow away. That is when you can start damaging Golbez, and Kane comes down, Cecil does the hit. Sadly, the damage rolls were a little low, but we still can get an extra hit in and should be able to kill Golbez before Rydia shows up. Maybe.
Yeah, no. You're always going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Just that Mist Dragon was quite low, actually. Usually you see it between 700 to 900 damage range, rarely in the 9s, but also rarely in the 600. 600 is really low for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the damage rolls in this game are just purely RNG, so there are stats that go behind a lot of them, but some of them, it's just RNG and you have to hope and pray you get the good rolls. And yeah, in that case it wasn't, but it still worked out really well, killing what can be a really terrifying fight if it goes wrong at all in the speedrun. So now we get the crab hand, or the lobster hand. It's creepy. But yes, this is the point in the game where this run, where the no 64 really comes into effect, because this is where we would be activating the 64 floor glitch for the previous category. But we're not going to be doing that. We're going to continue playing. So there is a glitch we're going to be using right in this room. As long as you don't leave the room, you can use the warp spell in this room. This was actually the only glitch I knew as a kid playing this game. it brings you into what's supposed to be the Dwarf Castle crystal room, but is actually links to the crystal room in the sealed cave, allowing you to get the darkness crystal ahead of time without going to the sealed cave, which saves an incredible amount of time because the sealed cave is rude with trapdoors and just mean bosses, and it's not very nice. So doing a bit of NPC dodging there because again, Couch is having to worry about his step route, and if you trap an NPC in a corridor with no means of escape, you would have to move to let them escape, and that ruins your step count. So picking up some extra items here, getting the strength ring and the dwarf axe, both of which are going to be really excellent, but especially that dwarf axe. One of the things that we're going to start manipulating now to help with back attacks especially is the agility stat. And depending on who is in your party and where kind of affects the agility stat. In most cases, if not all cases, it looks to Cecil, but Edge helps us out with that later on. But by giving Cecil that dwarf axe, it lowers his agility, making it easier and faster to run away. Agility magic is complicated, and there's a lot more to it than that, but at the end of the day, we're using the dwarf axe to manipulate agility to make it easier to run away. There are definitely folks in the community who could explain it much better than that, but it gets used a lot in certain areas. But right now, we are leaving the Dwarf Castle, heading for the Tower of Babel. Do want to go to the healing pot first. Gives us a chance to cure up after that battle. It's free, and it is built into the step route, so that helps a lot. And now we're walking. Please enjoy the lava. So if you have only seen the Paladin percent or the no CW, the no credit warp runs, all of this last section is going to be new to you, because none of this shows up in any of the other Final Fantasy IV Super Nintendo speedruns. This is only in the No 64 category, so there's extra learning. It gives us a chance just to see a lot of the rest of the game, and it's less cheese, honestly. More strategy is involved.
So as you see there, the dwarf axe coming in big handy. We got a 4 enemy back attack there, and we're able to run away no problem.
Yeah.
That dwarf axe removing 5 agility from Cecil is really, really big.
Mm-hmm. It helps a lot. So we're going to be ignoring most of the chests in this tower. However, there is going to be one chest we're going to be picking up in the next room, actually, which contains a cat claw. Now, we're not going to be using that cat claw really much right away, but it's going to come in real handy later on. So I believe in the route, at least in the version I run, we do equip Yang with one cat claw, and we dupe it so we have more later for Edge.
Yeah. So I did the dupe during Dark Elf,
Okay.
so I have the dupe ready to go, and I do the equip right before Dr. Lugay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's where I do it as well. So with that dupe, the beautiful thing about item duping is you can do the setup and leave it there. As long as you don't try and equip anything in that slot, it's not going to go away as long as you don't lose the character. However, if you complete the dupe into an empty slot and then get into a battle, that empty slot of lots of money becomes just an empty slot. You lose your duplication. So you do not want to complete a dupe until you're ready for it. because when doing that duplication, the first step in a full duplication gives you the empty slot. But if you try and equip it one more time, you actually get a stack of 255 of that item. And, or is it more than that? It's at least 255. And, that can be really useful.
Yeah, it's 255.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that gives you a lot more items to work with when you want to throw items or have multiples of an item. Really helpful. We've done all the duping we need to do for money, so any future duping is going to be for things like equipping and throwing. Oh gosh, yeah, some credit warp runs will break cartridges. This is an actual cartridge that Couch is playing on. Most of the Final Fantasy IV glitches are perfectly safe for cartridge. There is one which is a method of setting up the specific encounter seed C92 at the beginning of the game, which can actually delete your saves and do some nasty things to your cart. However, in this case, that not many people use that unless they have a way to back up their saves and stuff, because setting up those saves takes a while. It's not easy. So it is time to fight Luge, who just wants to dance. Oh, interesting.
That was an accident.
Okay, that's what I was gonna be like. Okay, so unfortunately, the row was an accident. A lot of the commands that we're trying to do in these battles, we want to have them happen as soon as the battle starts. So it requires really quick menuing, which sometimes just doesn't work out because it is so quick. And FF4 hates us. At the end of the day, the moral of the story is FF4 hates us. So, yeah, it'll do what it can to stop us. Titan, however, is excellent and does a lot of really good work. The Quake spell in general is really good. That mute spell is just a buffer. It is just taking up a space in the turn order so things don't get messed up. A lot of our strategies are based on the specific ATB of the enemies, who's in our party, what spells and attacks they're using. So to parry with someone when they were supposed to do something else can throw your turn order off. So sometimes we do use the strategy of buffer spells in order to change things up a bit and make sure things stay as consistent as possible. Okay, so first half is down. Everyone's alive, so that's good. The second half can be a little more tricky, but it's the first half I hate the most. Thankfully, any sort of row changes you do within battle are reset anytime you go into a new battle. So Luge's a jerk and likes to poison us right away. That's not so bad, but he will be doing a beam attack, which does a lot of damage to one person. That 39 damage to Rosa was not the attack. I think its laser is the one that does a lot of damage. So we're trying to get as much damage on Luge as possible, and ideally he will laser someone who is not necessary for the damage and can be resurrected quickly. That's Cecil's job on this turn, and worked out really well. Got that laser on Viridia, who has already done her job of using Titan. Yang is the heavy player in this fight. Dr. Luge is weak to lightning, and so with that Thunderclaw equipped on Yang, you can see he's doing like 1500 damage. And Kain is also a powerhouse. Well, that was rude, putting Yang to sleep, but thankfully, it's right before the end of the battle. Easy. Now, again, Couch is making so much of this look really easy. These fights are scary. Some more than others. Luge can be particularly rude. Okay, gonna be doing some party shuffling. We did get the tower key, so We do have one more thing to do in this tower, and we wanted to make sure to do the duplication with Yang before we go to this tower section, but especially for that Luge battle. Because we're about to lose our poor Yang. So if you have not completed the dupe by the time he leaves, that's it. You're not duping. And if he's equipped with the cat claw as well, you lose your cat claw, which is bad. Lovely. We got a new command in chat. Testing it out. Yeah.
Great command.
Very good command. Thank you so much for adding that. Okay, now it's time for the hardest battle of the game. We're gonna fight some dark imps. Look at them, aren't they cute? Also, that was sarcasm. This is legit the easiest battle in the game. They have very little HP and can really just not do any damage. So you should be able to one-shot most of them. No, we are not doing RNG manip. Yeah, no, there's no RNG manip. A step route is what is used, so we know what encounters we're getting. We're not manipulating back attacks. We're not manipulating surprise attacks. We're not manipulating damage amounts. So as long as we take the right steps in the right spots and such as that, we'll always know what encounters we're going to get. But even if we lose that, it's not such a big deal. It happens. It just means the run's a little bit more unpredictable.
If you ever get to this part in the game, do not hold up here. If you do, there is a small window where you can re-enter that door and soft lock yourself.
Yeah. So even back when this game was made, lots of soft locks. You have to work to get them, and we've definitely identified quite a bunch of them. Yeah, unfortunately, the encounter table though isn't really RNG in the traditional meaning. They do have the encounter seeds, so we are definitely manipulating those encounter seeds, definitely without fail. But sadly, RNG manip in this, especially like the back attack manipulation, while possible, is by frames. So we don't do that. That's for task runs. Speaking of patching things out of this game, we are actually running version 1.0 of Final Fantasy II US. It is the best version to speedrun, as there are some things like the mimic glitch which were not patched out. In the other version of this game, 1.1, the mimic glitch was actually patched out because somehow they found it. Like, that seems the most obscure to me, but somehow it's not. A few other minor things were changed, but you can still speedrun this game with either version, but we prefer 1.0.
Yeah, there's one more tiny difference between 1.0 and 1.1. The timing that you would do for that yang kick on Mom Bomb is a little bit longer. Not a bunch, but it's significantly longer to where if you're not used to it and you're used to running 1.0 and you start running on 1.1, your timing will be off just a hair.
I've noticed that. So, the quality of life version of this uses the 1.1, so it's fun. But we have finished that part of the Tower of Babel, and we are saved by Sid. Hey, Sid. What's up? We had to get rid of Yang so we could get Sid again. Thanks.
Yeah, nothing bad is going to happen to Sid at all.
What I love about this cutscene is we're having this huge chase scene, and it just kind of blacks out right before we hit a wall, and then we come back and we're running in a different direction. It's like, how did we have time to like U-turn there? Like, this is the most maneuverable vehicle in existence. Sid is good.
I mean, there's a reason he engineers all of these airships.
Mm-hmm. that is definitely true. Yeah, I think that expansion is called The After Years, and it came out on the Wii. Good luck. Enjoy. Though it also comes packaged along with the PSP version. Hey Sid, you just got here and already you're blowing yourself up. Why? Sacrificed himself and his magnificent beard to block that mountain we just unblocked. Thanks. Thanks, Sid. Like, that was not even 30 minutes ago.
This part, if you do not hesitate just a second, you'll actually walk right on top of the castle, and that will end up ruining your step route. So it's always good to hesitate there for a second, just to make sure you don't walk on top of the castle versus entering it.
Yeah, there's just so many little things like that where you're like, if you do this, your step route is ruined. And listen, who doesn't love After Years? Come on. Golbez? Kain and his beautiful blonde hair? Come on. And now it is time for one of our multiple airship upgrade scenes. Please enjoy. Listen, we don't need Sid. We've got his assistants.
Exactly.
Yay, now that we've got our upgraded airship, we can now pick up the hovercraft, which is right where we left it on a mountain. So we are going to use that in order to go into this cave, because that seems like a good idea. We just left the underground, and now we're like, nope, Sid sacrificed his life for us, but we're going right back in. Take that. I am not asking anyone to enjoy anything. You could. I'm also not saying After Years is a good game. But if you enjoy it, good. Games are for enjoying. So we are going to do a little bit of shopping. We do have a fire boss coming up, so we want to get a little bit of ice gear to help us out with that. I'm not going to lie, there are certain parts of After Years I really enjoyed. You just get to the moon and cry. And yes, you can enjoy games that are terrible.
Indeed.
Okay. There's no judgment here. We love Final Fantasy IV. No, I'm joking. I actually love Final Fantasy IV. Except for Tella. That's actual dislike.
Mood. He was somewhat kind this run, though.
He was. He has been, like, we're really not joking when we joke about him missing life, like, 3 or 4 times in a row. We've had it happen.
Many, many times.
Mm-hmm. I think Final Fantasy IV Interlude counts as a Kusoge, but you'd have to ask the Kusa Grande experts. Wow, that's almost a bat back attack. It's a bat
Wasn't for that
surprise
dwarf
attack.
axe.
Yeah. Okay, encounters, listen, we're trying to get, like, awesome people here. Time for one of the best lines in the game. Did you purposely switch it to radio there?
Maybe.
That's good. Was it flame? I will show you how.
And he just gives us a dirty look.
Also, can confirm Aladdin the King of Thieves was actually surprisingly decent. Oh, Ruby, you're so honorable and so mean, all at the same time. Now it's time for everyone's favorite ninja, Edward. No, really, his name is Edward.
Edward Geraldine.
Yep.
Hence Edge.
Yep. He decided Edward Geraldine was not cool enough, so changed it to Ed.
So I'm not no sissy bard.
How edgy can you get? But we love you, Edge. Anyways, well, Edward was actually named Gilbert. So we're gonna equip some cat claws here on Edge. Now our back attack problems are a thing of the past. Also, I do believe it's safe to assume that if a game exists, there's a randomizer of it.
Yeah, pretty
or
much.
Someone's working on a randomizer of it.
Or there are multiple randos of it.
Yes. There are multiple Final Fantasy IV randomizers. I think there's like 4 or 5 different
there's like
versions.
4 of them.
Yeah. They're all really good in different ways, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
Rude. Your back attacks mean nothing to me.
It's a very scary egg.
Yeah. Very surprised by this egg. I think life randomizer is life. Just putting that out there. Running away is just so nice as soon as you get Edge in those cat claws.
I know, right?
Amazing. It's one of my favorite versions of attacks to get in this game is when you get surprise attacked by an egg. Which, for those who are not familiar with this game, the egg will never attack you until you attack it, which causes it to hatch. So I'm not quite sure how you can be surprised or back attacked by an egg, an unhatched egg, but somehow you can.
Just rolled up right behind you. It was like, ah!
And it just sits there. You're just like, okie dokie, I'm gonna go now, and the egg does nothing, it's an egg. That's beautiful.
Look, another egg that surprised us.
Yeah. I am surprised that there is an egg here. That's why you're surprised. Now, we have the easiest fight in the game, followed by a really difficult fight. Or one of the easiest fights. I don't know know if I'd go as far as to say the Dark Imps are actually easier or not, because you actually have to hit the Dark Elf.
Yeah, definitely.
Dark Imps where you don't hear. So this is, technically you can try and attack King and Queen Eblin here, who have been sadly turned into monsters. However, it's a timer. You can't do anything until the timer's up, and attacking actually is just going to waste time. So while the text balloons are up, you can actually just be sitting in your inventory, rearranging as Couch is doing. Again, as I stated earlier, your inventory is super important in this category, because you just get so many items, you don't have time to sell, you don't even have time to throw things away. So you need to make sure you have everything in the best order possible. Empty spaces for things to drop so you can access them quickly, and close to hand items you're going to want to use. So, and you get a free heal before the next fight, so it doesn't even matter if you get a hit and someone dies, because unless you walk in with like single digit HP on everyone, you're not gonna die at this fight. Yeah, it might as well be AFK time once you're finished your organization. There's always time to go through and make sure you got everything.
Yeah, there's plenty of breaks in the speedrun. For how much is going on, there's actually a lot of downtime.
Absolutely. And I think personally this game is excellent. Just the speedrun it's very technical, very difficult. There's a lot to be doing. If that's your jam, come to the Final Fantasy IV speedrunning community. We love to have new folks come and join us. It is a lot of fun, but there's a lot to it. You don't have parents now. You just have Ruby. Everybody, say hi to Rubicante.
He's like a parent.
Yeah. Now, speaking of difficult fights, this one can be really quite bad, but so long as you have Cecil at the correct level, which equates to him having 1,000 HP or more, it becomes a lot easier, because this fight actually slows down by half as long as you have Cecil at the correct level. If you don't, which used to be a problem I had with this fight, Rubicante will be twice as fast, and considering he's tossing glares and like fire threes and stuff, can be incredibly dangerous. You also want to make sure you have enough time to be tossing those floods and ices at the correct time. If you cast ice or flood, as you're going to see, while the cloak is closed, you actually cure Rubicante, you don't hurt him. So definitely not ideal. Thankfully though, flood doesn't do the amount of damage that the ice spells that Rydia does, so it's not so bad. Thankfully, the ice equipment that both Cecil and Kain have equipped are both going to do a lot of damage, whether that cloak is opened or closed. So definitely very good there. Kain being our main damage dealer, which obviously is why Ruby is single targeting him, like a very, very rude elemental. Rude. We just want him to bring back that leg, because then we can hurt him. No, Flood is not non-elemental. Oh my god, Ruby. Ruby, you gotta chill. Ruby has no chill. We love you, Ruby, but no. Stop.
So rude.
Yeah, like this fight is really mean. I know when I was learning this speedrun, I used to just come here and die. I'd save, because there's a save room really close by, and I'd just keep running against the wood chipper that was Rubicante, because it's, as you can see here, like, Couch is really good, and it's a struggle if RNG just goes, nah, we're gonna kill the person doing the most damage, bye. Who does the most damage all the time, unlike Rydia, who only does the most damage while the cloak is open. Oh my god. This is terrifying.
Oh, that couldn't have gone any worse.
Oh gosh. Hey, you survived. That's how it could have gone worse. And listen, I can see your splits.
Okay.
You still had a green split. Don't even. But yes, that is very difficult. So that was really well done. Consider again, that was nothing that Couch did. That was Rubicante going, "Hey Kane, what up, die? Hey Kane, what up, die?" over and over. Sometimes the game just doesn't want you to do. Listen, pick up the speedrun again. I dare ya. I double dare ya.
Pretty much.
No, really though, come join us. I've started relearning it and picking it up again with the quality of life hack, not gonna lie. And it's fabulous.
Best line in the game.
Which one?
A pitfall.
Oh yeah. A pitfall?
I should have peeped the boss.
I was just gonna say that. So it's not relevant in vanilla, and like when you're learning this, if you don't know the randomizer, you don't think about it. But if you just when you first land after the pitfall, if you just move to the right, you can see the boss who is at the top of lower Babel. However, in the vanilla speedrun, we've already fought that boss. We don't care, and it's always going to be Luge. Though if you look, it's Luge, I think, is still standing there.
I don't remember, actually.
I know I've done it. I know I've peeked it because I never have my stepper out by here. So I've definitely peeked it just for the lulz. And I think he was still standing there. I can't remember.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was the other way either, but I seem to recall he was there. Anyways, yeah, so you can just peek the boss. Hey, look! Someone left a random airship here. That's convenient.
Awfully convenient.
Yeah. It's the Falcon, not to be confused with our Enterprise. However, this airship cannot travel over lava, which is really annoying. Because you just move slightly wrong and you're just bumping into lava. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Magic.
Definitely magic in this game. Okay, and now... who should we find but Sid? Sid's fine. He blew himself up with a bomb after falling a really long way, and he's just here taking a nap. Sid, please. You're too powerful. And I was gonna say, is this really a Final Fantasy game without, you know, a mode of transportation going terribly wrong?
No travel has ever broken in any Final Fantasy game ever.
Ever. No game is as bad for it as Final Fantasy V, I will admit, but Final Fantasy IV is pretty bad for it too.
A lot of different vehicles we take in this game. You got the hovercraft, 3 different airships, and 2 different chocobos.
Isn't it 2 different airships, but you, 2 different airships, you modify both of them at least once each, plus a spaceship?
Yeah. Well, I was including the Lunar Whale as a
Oh,
as an
gotcha, as an airship. No way, it's a spaceship. It's a spaceship that's a whale.
You'd think it would make you travel underground.
You can't actually bring the Lunar Whale underground.
Oh, I've tried many times.
I have also tried. You're just like, I have this big spaceship, time to go play with lava. No. Cecil, the only useful magic he has, the exit spell.
I mean, Cure 2 is pretty useful. It
No.
cures you to the power of
No.
2.
Have you tried? No. I have actually used Cecil as a last-minute curing. Now, I spoke earlier about there being multiple different routes, even within the No 64 speedrun. Where Couch is going right now is part of one of those route deviations. So he is heading into the land of summon monsters because he is looking to get the item called the Rat Tail. The Rat Tail gives you, once you turn it in at the Adamant Grotto, will give you a piece of adamant. When brought along with the Legend Sword to our lovely dwarf friend, it will be forged into an Excalibur. Now, with the item duplication glitch, we can actually duplicate that Excalibur to a stack of over 200 Excaliburs. So we are going to use those to great advantage. So this particular route category is called No 64 Excalibur %. I run the category called Rosa %. So rather than getting the Excalibur, I level up and use Rosa. So both routes are really excellent and have a lot of different benefits and bonuses. However, a lot of it's to runner preference. There's different strategies. This is the part of the game where the routes start to deviate. No 64 stays basically the same up until this point, but it's basically from here on where it starts to change.
This route is a little bit safer in a few of the final fights. Most notably Zeromus. Zeromus can be really risky with Rosa.
Very risky. It is a super fast fight in the Rosa % category if you can do it correctly, but it is very dangerous. Now, because we got that darkness crystal using the warp glitch earlier, we are able to step on the trigger tile. It goes, oh hey, you've got the dark crystal. You must have already done the sealed cave. Until Kain betrays us, steals it, and leaves. So we actually get to skip basically the entirety of the sealed cave, which is a delight for everybody. And now that we have that, we have to come back and tell them, oh hey, we didn't get the crystal. Or we did get the crystal, but we were betrayed. Again. Thanks.
Look, another place we can take a break.
Love those breaks. It's just really funny during the speedrun how many kind of airship fixing scenes we get in just sequence because of the stuff we skip. I kind of love the airship cutscenes because they manage to tell a story without saying anything at all. They're brilliant. It kind of just shows the magic of the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah. And this is an earlier release for the Super Nintendo versus say something like Final Fantasy VI, where it was much later in the lifespan of the SNES.
Absolutely.
They could do a lot more with a little bit more knowledge of how everything was going to work. So I don't know if you can tell, but this was more than likely going to be an NES game.
I didn't actually know that, but it does make sense. And I'm glad it wasn't.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but just judging by, the general design of the menus, how the text doesn't actually type across, how it scrolls up and down, everything's kind of pre-written and everything. It just seems like it would be an NES style of game.
Absolutely. You can always play the NES remake if you want. Almost as good as the Final Fantasy VII NES remake.
So you got to be careful there. There are two spots that you can land actually on the ground next to drilling upwards.
It's the worst.
It is the worst when you do it because you're like, oh, cool, I got this, and then you land, and you're like, oh, well, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You're just like, why? Why are we doing this? And now we're swapping airships because we need the hook, and the hook is only on the Enterprise, not on the Falcon. And we need that because in order to get to the Adamant Cave, we need to use the hovercraft. So we did it. We gave the rat tail and we got the adamant. If you can get the pink tail, which is gotten by a rare encounter only found in one spot in the moon, which you can't even manually summon in the English version because they took away that item. With a very rare chance of dropping the pink tail, you can turn that pink tail into the Adamant Grotto to get the best armor of the game, which can be equipped by literally anyone except Dark Knight Cecil, the Adamant armor.
I heard you like breaks.
I love breaks, and I love this legend. Why didn't we read it the first time?
I had to get up.
It's the worst. Prototypes. Scala with the details in chat. It's beautiful. Now everyone, send us your energy emotes in chat because we need to summon this whale.
So when we get to the moon, there will actually be, depending on your step route, if you are doing a step route, it will tell you whether to go to the Naming Way Cave first to buy some elixirs, or whether you need to go get Fusoya first. You pay very close attention to that, because steps inside of the Naming Way Cave actually count, and you want to try and, keep those encounters where they're supposed to be. One time I was step routing and I wasn't paying attention, and I paid attention. I got Fusoya first, then I hit the crystal to go back to the Earth.
Nice.
I didn't have any elixirs, so we could not continue on.
Yeah, that would be okay in Rosa Percent because technically you don't need elixirs in Rosa Percent. You kill Zeromus so quickly. If you have time to use an elixir, you're dead. You've done it wrong and the fight is done. But you need elixirs in this version, in this category. There's going to be a lot of Excal tossing, and you need to be alive in order to toss them. I did hear a rumor that the moon was haunted.
Moon is clearly haunted by naming ways.
Mm-hmm. It is, which are actually called hummingways. Naming way is a specific hummingway. We got the Excalibur, yay! So where is it that you do the duplication for that Excal?
During the end of the grind fight.
Aha.
Since we don't need it any time beforehand.
That makes sense. Now the grind fight is something which is a constant through all of the No 64 categories. It's just who you're tossing those levels on that changes. So what we will be doing is when we go to the Giant of Babel, there is a specific fight in there which we can use in order to level up quite quickly, much quicker than we're supposed to be able to. And so and then we will, once we've killed as many of the enemies as we need, we will kill off the rest of the party except for the one person we wish to get all that experience and end the fight and level them up into level 50 or high 40s, early 50s. So spending all of our early game cash on elixirs. That stack of 50 elixirs feels so good. Yes, Fusuya is so overpowered. It's sad you don't get to keep him longer, but since we do have him, we use his great spells and abilities in order to do this grind fight. And once we get there, we'll talk about it a little more. But first, we have a bit of a walk through the lunar subterrane in order to get to the Lunar Castle, in order to get Fusuya. Our lovely mop. I love how we have slime, tofu, and pudding. 2 of those sound maybe appealing, and 1 of those is slime.
And all 3 of them together sound absolutely terrible.
Yeah. You could make okay pudding out of tofu, actually.
But slime tofu?
No, not slime. Though tofu does have slime on it sometimes.
That's true. Good point.
Yeah. There we go. Giving you the info you folks all want. Mops do clean up all the messes, it's true, especially our mop. For those who don't know what we're referring to, Fusuya, when he dies, his beard spreads out around him, and the Japanese community, because of that, refers to him as Uncle Mop. So it is such a cute name. A lot of us in the English speedrun community stole it because it is perfect and accurate. He is a mop. Hello, Uncle Mop. You are the best. He's gonna talk for a while, though, which is sad. Listen, this is a speedrun. We don't have time for your talking.
I know, right? Just shut your mouth, join our party, and let's go.
Let's mop up this mess. So we can run away without being attacked even on the back attacks because we've been manipulating the agility of some of our characters. Originally, we'd given a dwarf axe to Cecil as he has the most impact on the party. But once we get Edge, by giving him 2 cat claws, it adjusts things enough that we're just too fast. So we run away from everything. We are too powerful.
Granted, there are still 1 or 2 encounters that you actually can't run away from if you get into a back attack.
Yeah.
And the step route will always tell you whether, hey, make sure that you have the dwarf axe equipped, or hey, you're okay to not have this equipped. Of course, if you're not doing step route, usually just equip the dwarf axe and you're okay.
And safety save. Just when in doubt, safety save, because then if you do get bad encounters or something goes wrong, you just reset and you're fine.
Absolutely.
Oh yes, it is definitely a speedrun technique. Again, this might be the longest, least glitchy category maybe, but it is not without its glitches and manipulations.
Yeah, a true glitchless run of this is very interesting because you don't have all this money to buy all these items. You can't mist clip early to get
dancing daggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much that changes. The PSP version as such, the speedrun for that is quite different because not only are most of the glitches, if not all of the glitches we use not in that version, it has the Japanese items and abilities, so you get to use those to manipulate some of the fights, so it's also a really interesting run. Very different though. I love how Fusuya tells us we're late. Listen, we're never late. We arrive exactly when we mean to.
Maybe if he didn't run his mouth, we wouldn't have been late.
Right? This is all your fault, Fusuya. Don't blame us.
Yeah, exactly. When in doubt, blame Fu.
Yeah. No, blame Tella.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
They're basically
You
one
said,
and the
but
same.
it doesn't matter. Listen, I'm pretty sure even in the glitchless run, you're not playing the game as intended. You're just not using glitches to not play the game as intended. There are many things they didn't intend that are the case, but aren't glitches. They're just bad programming. Or not, I wouldn't say bad programming, I apologize. It's just not intended programming.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these things are found by people actually, going into the game itself and going, "Hey, okay, well, I see this in the code. We can abuse this," or things like that. So it's not that it was programmed at all. It's just like, there are flaws that get overlooked and so on and so forth. But I do not know a lot about programming, so don't take my word for that.
Yes, making games like this are very difficult. It is, I would go as far as to say, literally impossible to make sure none of this stuff is in there. And honestly, little unintended things gives these games a lot of character. And make it a lot of fun to use, especially when you can. We can't chill, we're too busy yelling at Fusuya. No, seriously though, Fu is amazing and is gonna do a lot of really hard work here in the Giant.
So after that long cutscene, we're finally gonna make a nice walk. The Giant right now is very nice. I only have 4 encounters before I hit my grind fight, so usually it's pretty heavy. 7, 8.
Yeah. When you're not on step route, we do actually have a guide for finding the grind fight and using resets and step counting in order to find it, and that helps a lot because let me tell you, I have never made it to the Giant of Babel still on step route, so that guide helps me a lot. But when you are still on the step route, you will know exactly which encounter is your correct encounter because there are 2 encounters that look exactly the same, and you can't know without spending a few minutes in the fight. Without these guides, you won't know whether it's your correct one or not. And that wastes time. And this is a speedrun. We don't have time for that. Fusuya is definitely Tella, but good. No one would hate Tella the way they do if Tella was more like Fusuya. Is Fusuya perfect? No. But useful. We're on seed 250. Unless accident is oh yeah, this is seed 250 for anyone who wants to look it up. ff4.accident, AEXODEN.com. Go to the step routes, look for no 64 excal % or excal plus edge %, and 250. You can follow along. So right now, Couch is doing all of the setup for the grind fight. You want certain equipment, certain characters in particular spots. You see, we unequip the Excalibur from Cecil. We do not want to do too much damage in this fight. A lot of the work in this fight is doing enough damage to trigger more monsters, but not so much damage that we're going to kill the robot that summons the fight we're going to be using. So, yeah, that is going to be really good. The positions that the characters are in also affects the turn order. So, yeah, by the fact we're still in this fight, this is our grind fight. It is a searcher with 2 beamers, and the particular monster this searcher will summon is a D machine. We are going for, I believe, 17. That's how many I do in mine.
15.
15 for you. Okay. I think 15 works for everyone, but my notes say 17, so that's what I do. So these fights can go really well Ideally. So when we talk about 15 and 17, that's how many D machines that need to be killed to get the correct amount of experience. The strategy for these D machines is to use weak to bring them down to single digit, have Rydia hit them with her dancing dagger equip to kill them. Then we're going to be taking advantage of a glitch which we refer to as the vitality glitch. So when you use a life potion on a monster, life potions use an entity's vitality stat to show how much HP they should be brought back with. However, monsters have no vitality. They have a 0 vitality stat. So when you use a life potion to bring them back, they come back with 0 HP, so they immediately die again. So by doing that, and by timing these life potions correctly, we are actually getting 3 D machine kills for every 1 that it looks like we're getting. You have to target the life on the D machine while it's there. You cannot just target the empty space where the D machine used to be unless it's still technically dying. Some enemies in this game look like they're floating and they are actually not. The Searcher falls into that category, which is why you can use Quick Moment. This party order is really important because if you don't have the right battle speed, if you are doing too much damage, if you don't get your timings correctly, especially for the battle speed and your party order, sometimes people skip the order they're supposed to be in. This fight should always go exactly the same, providing all the turns stay the same. You hit the Searcher with Edge, it summons a D machine. Fu will immediately put that weak on that D machine. Rydia will hit it. You will have the 2 lives queued up from Rosa and Cecil. Edge will hit the Searcher. Rinse and repeat until you hit your number you're looking for, which in Couch's case is 15. So, I haven't been counting because I've been explaining. We're what's our 16?
We're good.
Nice. We're good. So, I'm not gonna lie, this part is the hardest part for me, where you have to kill everybody else other than the person you want to keep alive. In this case, we want to keep Edge alive. You also cannot accidentally try and run. If you try and run in this fight to run buffer or just cause, you will actually run away. That's not good. We're using the weak spell right now in order to make sure that the Searcher can be killed by anyone. There's no accidental summonings. 1 actual hit and it'll be dead. It will not summon anything on a miss. So we're taking advantage of more weak spells and dancing daggers in order to kill off the rest of our party. Again, that targeting is quite precise. I hate it. And there we go. Down to Edge, punching, Searcher down. We now get, what was that, 600,000 experience? Let's
All
watch
of the
the levels
experience.
fly. All of the experience. Yeah, for the goal for Rosa percent in this fight is to get Rosa high enough to get the white spell, which I believe is 48 or 49. Yeah, it works really well. Yeah, you can do more if you want, but it takes more time. So, why? Okay, so Couch is done there now. Making sure to save, or will be saving, curing up so we can get there is a save point just around the corner, which is used in order to try and find the grind fight. And this is where things get fabulous because Edge is much higher level than basically everyone else other than Fu, and has lots of Excaliburs, so is going to be tossing them. So many Excaliburs. Yeah, it's technically not Edge percent, it's technically Excalibur percent. The reason is because there's 2 different percents you can do with Edge. There's the Drain Spear, and then there's the Excalibur. The Excalibur does more damage when it's tossed, but you have to go through all the work of getting the rat tail, turning it in for the adamant, forging the Excal weapon. So there is a lot of work that goes into getting that better sword. While the Drain Spear, you just get, I believe, from Dwarf Castle.
Yeah.
So it's accessible fairly early, easy to get, and so you just hold on to it and dupe it. So, Yeah, so edge percent isn't a category because technically there's 2 categories under edge percent. So we call it by those subcategories instead. So the 3 main categories for this category as such, we have Excalibur, which is what you're seeing here. We've got Drain, Spear percent, and Rosa percent. So now we're going to see the elements fight. This has the potential to be a really rude fight regularly. However, we're going to be doing some lovely manipulations. I know in some of the other categories it involves bouncing spells, but depending on which element is here depends on what damage we're going to do, and Couch is going to be controlling which element it is he wants to have up. I believe Rubicante is actually the goal here.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So we saw that a wall spell was cast on Fusoya a little earlier. The reason for that is most, if not all, enemies who have a trigger, like an HP trigger to do something, that trigger does not get activated when you reflect a spell. So using wall in order to reflect damage is really important. Right now, the goal is to do a certain amount of damage up to that trigger point and then reflect the rest of the damage to prevent Ruby from changing to Kainazzo and Val to the other half of the battle and to get it finished up. And there we go. Easy peasy.
Easy game.
Yep. Yeah, lots of different interesting opinions on the different routes. Honestly, whichever of the routes works best for you is completely valid. They're all really effective. It's just some are more optimized and even faster than others. So it depends on preference. So again, Rosa percent is the fastest, but it can be real bad. That Zeromus fight, if you don't get it just right, is real long and really scary. Now, speaking of scary, it's time for CPU. I don't think it's so scary with the Excalibur because, again, you're just tossing it. Now, the big thing about CPU is if you kill both the attacker and defender node, then it will start using Globe 199, which does max damage or pretty close to max damage on whoever it uses it on, and it will use 3 globes. So you want to be able to kill the main CPU node just after killing the attacker and defender, which between the Quake, which again, CPU's fake floating, the multiple Excal darts, and just the regular attack, mwah! Beautiful. Easy every time. Yeah, when I was learning this category, I originally started with Excalibur percent. It is a lot more consistent. It is definitely a really good category to learn. I just like Rosa, so that I learned it, and it's hard, but it's fun.
Oh man. Alright. So I did take quite a few extra steps. Not sure too much how that's going to affect my step route. But it looks like we're only going to get 1 red dragon. I do have to take a quick pit stop in the save room right before we get to the crystal area. Red dragons are not the scariest, but they're the most inconvenient because you're going to lose time no matter what. Because red dragons are always going to get the first turn, them being, I believe, level 99.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just really mean. They're not very nice, and you just cannot run away from them. Many of the things on the moon you can't run away from, so you just end up having to fight so many things. Also, hey, Kane's back. He's definitely not going to betray you again. For like the 3rd time. But yeah, you've when in doubt at this point, you've got Excaliburs, you toss them. And if you run out of Excals, which spoilers you won't, just do some more. As long as you have Cecil, you can always have more Excaliburs.
So Cecil getting 5 levels on CPU there was perfect. If Cecil is level 27 or lower, Zeromus is much faster, and it is a very, very scary fight. If Cecil becomes level 28 or higher, you are in the clear. Zeromus is the perfect speed, and you'll have absolutely no issues getting Zeromus down.
Yeah, Zeromus, like, we've been talking about, like, agility manipulation and certain equipment and whatnot, but Zeromus is one of the scariest fights when it comes to that. If you don't get your agility just right for Zeromus, he is incredibly fast and it is scary. He has a full party attack which he does every couple of turns called Big Bang, and it hurts a lot. So a lot of what we do is mitigation in order to take the least amount of damage, in order to have him not do that. Yeah, there's a lot of work we do. But once you have the fight down, it's not too bad. And doing like 7k plus damage for every Excal throw isn't too bad either. Yes, we know why Kain betrays the party. You learned during the course of the game, he was being mind controlled. He is jealous of Rosa and Cecil because he likes Rosa, and that was a way for him to be mind controlled. It was a pathway to darkness.
So we don't like Cecil's parking job. He is permanently fired from flying this airship ever again. We're gonna take off and go move back.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's permanently fired from a lot of things. Yeah, Golbez was controlling his mind. Hilariously, Golbez was also being mind controlled. Whoa! What's that slime tofu pudding combination again? Ah, this walk. I don't miss this walk.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is the final descent. No more going back. This is where we are heading to the final boss. Yeah, there's no more bosses left. There's just the walk. Though again, there's going to be fighting because there's going to be encounters. It's just you can't run from, or there's no point trying.
Walking is the final boss.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, Final Fantasy IV is the final boss. Multi-level marketing thing, but with mind control. That is very well put. Okay, now that we have whatever it is we have, I'm not even quite sure what gives us power to go underneath where we couldn't before. Either way, we now have access to the Lunar subterrane. This place is such a maze before you learn the route. There's a lot of maps, thankfully, not only for this game, but for the speedrun. Because so many of the dungeons are just really, really impressively designed because of when they were designed. They did a lot with what they had, but it means trying to learn where you're going sometimes is just like, I don't know, I'm lost. I can confirm that if you join Zemus Corp, all of your dreams will come true. That is correct, chat. That's actually how Couch got so good at speedrunning Final Fantasy IV.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of resources out there.
There really are.
When I first joined, a little over 3 years ago, and it's not just the resources; it's the people in the community as well. The people in the community are absolutely fantastic. They will go out of their way to help you. They're more than happy to help you get a really good time because who doesn't like healthy competition, right?
Absolutely. You'll have lots of folks not only to race against and practice with, but truly the community is just there to help and to test. And if you want to come in and try new routing and try new things, they want to work with you. You got to do the work as well, but it's just an amazing time, and the community has found so much, and I know many members of the community have helped me out a lot with my own learning, so. Yes, we are doing edge route, specifically Excalibur percent. Second only to Rosa Bay percent. I'm on Team Rosa, so. Who likes Strange Spear anyways? Nobody likes Strange Spear.
Swimmy likes Drain Spear. Shout out to Swimmy, by the way.
Yeah, no, Swimmy is excellent. We have so many good community members, my gosh. Listen, there's always marathon safety.
Marathon safety is actually going to be this route in general. For me, anyways. I have not practiced Rosa at all. I haven't even learned the route. This is the main route I run.
And again, this route is more consistent. Rosa, while faster, can be really scary. Speaking as someone who has only actually successfully done the Zeromus fight twice, it's terrifying. Everybody say hi to Cheddar. Cheddar is back to cheer us on for the end.
She's returned for the end of the run.
The Gundam is the friends you made along the way. Yes, Rosa is faster but less marathon safe. That is a correct assessment. But it's so good. Listen, who doesn't want to use Rosa to cast white and just blow things up all over the place? It's so good. Yeah, I'm definitely on team pick safe routes for runs which are 3+ hours. However, I've been speedrunning this game for almost 3 years now, so there comes a point you want to start learning the faster runs. Yes, Cheddar is a very chatty cat, and she's wonderful. She's the best co-commentator someone could have.
Indeed.
I'm not sure if there's any Marlboros in this game. If there are, they're not called that, but I don't think there are.
They are in the Sylph Cave, actually.
Right, they are! I know exactly. As soon as you said that, I was like, of course they do, and they still have their awful bad breath. No tomberries, though. Sad. Yeah, they come in packs of 2. Sometimes with some other things, but never any more than 2 of those that I've seen. That was part of the censoring that happened, the spell being called white. And Meteo is just a mistranslation. It's supposed to be meteor. Those elixirs are so helpful just for the walk down. You're just like,
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah. And see, the grind fight helps doubly because not only do you level up the one person you point all that experience to, someone in the shadow party also gets it, that being Kain. So when Kain joins you again, you also have him at a higher level, so that's really helpful. Plus, he comes pre-equipped with the Gungnir, which is, I think, like his third best spear anyways. So, yeah, good times are had.
Alright, so in theory, that should be our last encounter.
Nice. Also, the Avenger is too powerful, and I wish it were usable in this, or available for use in the speedrun.
It's a long ways out of the way.
Yep. The Avenger, for those who don't know, is a really excellent sword, which gives automatic Berserk. Berserk makes you attack harder and attack faster, so, but you're completely out of player control, so it's really great, as long as you've got other party members. So welcome to the end game. One of the only times you will see Golbez in battle as not the big scary sprite. He's one of us now.
Hashtag when is Golbez for FE?
Yeah, right? That would be fabulous. So here's Zeromus, the mastermind behind all of this nonsense. And I just love the music in this game in general. It's fabulous. The final boss music is some of my favorite music in the game. Hello?
Hello?
Sorry, we had a friend came to join us, not realizing we're commentating. Listen, who actually I want to shout out. Dravenheart is an amazing part of the Final Fantasy IV community and has helped us out so much with so much there. So we got to say a quick hi.
So this fight is pretty scripted. I'm going to be doing a very specific set of things. The fight's going to go relatively quick, to be honest.
Use the crystal. Hey Scala, when are we getting playable Golbez? Times 400. For those who don't know, Scala Kitty is the one who handles all of the Zeromus sprites, which are randomized in the Free Enterprise randomizer. So you're welcome. There's now no more randomized Zeromus sprites. Hey, look! Everyone's here! Everyone!
Everyone.
Everyone who
Luca.
mattered. Yeah, see? Luca's so good.
Shoutouts to Luca, who can get in that stairwell when you're first entering Dwarf Castle and just walk up and down on that staircase for like a minute.
Yeah, she literally just hangs out and you're like, child, playing on stairs is dangerous. And she's like, you're not the boss of me, and stays there. You're like, please. So, interesting tech that was found, not so recently now, but within the last couple of years, is that if you actually run during this sequence where everyone's coming to give you their energy, you save 12 seconds just by sitting and running. The reason being is when you're at critical health, you have these sweat drop animations over your head, and that actually causes a bit of lag. So by running during the sequence, you remove that lag. It was found completely by accident by community members who were in a race, and one of them was just bored and started running during it and finished quicker than they should have. So experiments were run and timings were completed, and it's consistent. That is how much time you will save from the lag. It's amazing.
Yeah, and in some places you can run as well during certain animations, and it will increase the animation speed. As like when I brought up during Fabul, the gargoyle will save like 30-something frames there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now the battle begins. Until you use that crystal on Zeromus, you actually cannot do any damage. So, and the only person who can use it is Cecil. Grr. Arg. Okay, so we're gonna berserk Cecil. Most of our party is not gonna survive for very long. However, Cecil does have an Excalibur on right now, and berserk, as mentioned earlier, will allow him to attack faster if nothing else. So at 2500 an attack, you can do some decent damage. Even that 200 from Rydia isn't bad. So you're already seeing the magic of this run, those darts. And now, goodbye Cecil, goodbye Rosa. You get to join Rydia from where she was nuked. On the ground. Oh no! You got the, you're still alive, Cecil! I didn't notice that you got the, Oh, that was what the dancing dagger was for. Smart. I don't know if you did that on purpose. So, one of the strategies you can do, if you do a magic attack, which throwing a dancing dagger counts as, on Zeromus, anywhere before he does his first big bang, it does weird things with his magic attack, because he changes his magic attack to counterattack and doesn't change it back until he's cast Big Bang. But it does affect Big Bang, so it makes it way less powerful than it should be. And because of that, Cecil actually survived with just over 1000 HP. So that'll help get a bit of extra damage and make this a lot easier. The main strategy here is simply going to be tossing those Excals and curing with elixirs. I don't even think Kain bothers to do any sort of attacking himself. He is on pure curing duty. Bye, Kain. We don't need you. Take that. Ah, beautiful. Meteo. So, the only time Meteo is useless is when Zeromus is casting it. It is terrible. As you saw in the first time he tried to use it, it can miss. And it's just awful. We don't like it. Well, we love it. Because Meteo indicates we're technically in the third phase, the final phase. And means we're done. There we go. There's the flash. Crash, boom, bang. that is the end of Final Fantasy IV. No 64. GG Couch, that was an awesome run. You
Thank you.
are, according to this marathon, 10 minutes under estimate.
Only 53 seconds behind PB as well.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice. I do notice you actually gold split that.
Yeah, it was due to step route, not getting terrible encounters on the way down.
Yeah, darting X-Scals is super good. Look, even Cheddar is cheering.
How do people...
Man, that was great.
That was really good. And again, if anyone is interested in running this game or joining the community, I'm linking the website in the channel, ff4.axoden.com. The link to the Discord, I believe, is there. All of the routes, the step routing is all there. Come join us. Come join the community. Try out this game. There is a Paladin % category, which is just running until you become a Paladin. It is just over an hour long, and it's a really good introduction if you're interested specific in Final Fantasy IV speedrunning. You don't have to step route. That just makes things better. It's not required. So come hang with us.
Yeah,
They're pretty cool.
You can still get fantastic times without step route. My current No 64 PB has like a step route like half of the game because I completely botched it, and then I made up 3 minutes basically throughout the last half of the run. So step route is not needed to get a super good time.
Absolutely. This is your last chance, Cecil. Say it.
It's always really fun to run this. It's a really fun game. It can be quite frustrating at times. There's a lot of things that can go sideways or, kind of mess up, and it'll mess up things later on down the road. But you can usually recover from those, and it's just overall it's a really fun game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and you can take it at your own pace. You can even run it glitchless. I believe there is a route for glitchless. It's just not as fast. For what I feel are obvious reasons.
Yeah,
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Natara, for offering to commentate, by the way. It allowed me to kind of focus on what was going on and not worry about talking too much.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for doing this amazing run.
And yes, my other co-commentator Cheddar is always here. She's very vocal.
Best co-commentator.
And we'll let the credits play out. The credits are probably one of my favorite credits out of all the Final Fantasies. You get to see what happens to everybody. It shows, hey, this is what happens afterwards. After everything's been cleaned up. Shows the process. I really enjoy it, and you get to see Palom and Porm come back, all stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a really good ending sequence. Yes, for those who like a harder category as well, you can also do the all bosses category. More of a meme category than a seriously competitive category, because not a lot of people run it, but definitely an option.
And the music is just fantastic. The ending credits music is really good.
It is. It samples a lot of the different tunes throughout the game. Cheddar is Couch's cat, and she's giving us lots of happy little mews. Yeah, next up, the after years. Or not.
This is the after years.
Yeah, if only.
Edge longing for Rydia, you know. Fallen in
better.
love. Super
You
spin.
can do better than him.
The real meme category for this game is no escape. It's roughly a little over 5 hours. Basically,
Excuse me.
you're not allowed to escape.
No running away. No, excuse me. The real meme category is Octomem %. 18 minutes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're racing to Octomem, and it actually does have different strategies because there are things you can do to get you to Octomem faster that you can't do in the full speedrun because after Octomem, you will softlock. But it'll get you to and through that battle.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is always good after you beat Octo doing that category, just going and soft locking your game.
Yeah.
Because you get the awesome battle music, but it's just a black screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fastest way to get there is you just go with Cecil and Kane. You don't bother to do any of the Kaipo stuff, and because you didn't talk to Rosa in the bed or trigger that at all, like the cave is empty, Tella isn't there, so you don't have Tella. So when you go into Damsian, it just black screens. You get the music, but you just get a black screen because it wants Tella to do stuff, but Tella doesn't exist. Thanks again for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I had a blast. Enjoy the next run. I believe we have Big John coming up. Enjoy that run. It's going to be pretty great.